you win the bid, and you can choose which color you want to play with. Most players, they choose to play with black because then they also have the draw odds. Anyway, we're going to get started very soon here. We have some very exciting matchups here. We, for example, have the matchup between Daniel Darda and Baza, a player from Ukraine. Daniel Darda, extremely strong grandmaster, rated over 2600. I definitely see him as the favorite to win the winner's bracket and move on to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. But there's definitely also some other strong players that we have to keep an eye out on. But if the players lose, they move down into the loser's bracket. If you win the loser's bracket, you will also qualify for the main event. So there will be 2 spots up for grabs. So very exciting stuff today. So yeah, let's see what is going to happen. Big shout out to everyone who's watching, both on my own channel and on the chess channel. But yeah, we have this matchup between Daniel Darda and Baza. We also have the matchup between Pranesh and Ohanian. Also I don't quite want to call them veterans because both of them are very young, but both very experienced in the online arena. So yeah, Ohanian definitely also a player to watch out for. Very young, talented player from Armenia, and I'm sure he can perhaps cause an upset, if you will, and make it to the main event. We're gonna get started in 2 minutes, and yeah, so let's see what is going to happen. We also have the bracket that we can hopefully pull up. That will make it a bit more clear to you guys. But yeah, Pranesh and Ohanian and Darda and the other player there in the winner's bracket. So again, if they win 2 matches, we start in the semifinals. There's 8 players in totals. If these players win 2 matches, they make it to the main event. But if you lose 1 match, you go down into the loser's bracket. But hey, again, you still have a shot. But the players in the loser's bracket, they are on their last life, so to speak. If they lose 1 match, it's all over. But yeah, format is the same in both brackets. The matches should go by pretty fast because again, it's only 6 games. And yeah, I'm looking forward to some high quality and very exciting chess today. Hope so are you guys. It's going to be less than a minute to start. So let's have a look. I think I will stay with the game between Darda and Baza. Darda's the highest rated player. I honestly wonder how he is going to make this work because he's playing the Sharjah Masters. But I guess he already finished a couple hours ago and he's all ready to play. Also, recently I played Daniel Darda with the black pieces. Unfortunately, I lost. Again, very strong grandmaster. And I definitely think he is the favorite to make it to the main event from the winner's bracket. He outrates the other players by more than 100 points, almost 150. So let's see how Baza will fare against the young Belgian player. All right, it's 12 p.m. Central, so the game should get underway any moment now. Let's see what Daniel is going to open up with. He's a very versatile player. He can open up with e4, d4, c4 as well, knight f3. So let's see what he has cooked up for us. Darda, I believe he's 17 years old. Darda is from 2005. You have to be under the age of 18 or 18 at the oldest to be able to play in this event. Cannot be older than that. I think it used to be 20. But a lot of these prodigies, they're not out of place in the actual speed chess championship. So perhaps that's why they lowered the age a little bit. Anyway, we should get started any moment now. Let's see what is going to happen. And yeah, so I guess both players, they might have done a little bit of preparation, but very often in blitz, you just go with the flow. You just see what happens. All right, and we are off. The moves came in very quickly. So Darda opened up with c4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, and through a different move order, we are in the King's Indian. White lost the tempo with bishop d3 to e2, but it actually gets white into a favorable line. So knight of c6, black wants to play e5 here, try to get the knight of d4. So let's see d5 played quickly by Darda. Now black can take on c3, which will lead to a very interesting imbalance. Knight f5 played, hitting the pawn, bishop e2. Again, you can take Knight e5 played, taking the pawn. Maybe you have to go queen a4 to defend it, because if you go b3, you hang this, and black can take the knight on c3. But both players coming playing very quickly right out of the gate. All right, so queen a4 played by Darda after like 10 seconds of thought. c6 played by Baza, putting some pressure on the center. And this brings an interesting idea in the position. For example, if Darda were to castle here, black can consider taking on c4, followed by b5. It is a pawn sacrifice though. He takes on d5. Now I expect Darda to take with the c pawn. And the knight on a5, it can be out of place here. Black has to try to bring it into the game very quickly with something like rook to c8 and knight to c4. But he takes with the knight, also looks very logical. Perhaps e6 here, hitting the knight. The age limit for the juniors is 18 years. So the players cannot be born before 2005. They cannot be born before 2005. And Darda is one of those players. He is born in 2005. So this will be his last year of eligibility in the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Alright, so we see Baza taking his time. Perhaps e6 here, taking the knight. Then I will have to go back here or here. And then Darda can strengthen the pawn either with rook to c1 or rook fd1. And he does have the bishop pair. So let's see what Baza is going to do. Like, if he doesn't have anything quickly here and Darda is able to consolidate, I definitely think white has the advantage. But, you know, this pawn on c4 is a little bit tender, so maybe black can put some pressure on it with moves like rook to c8. And also after e6, the knight isn't sitting too comfortably on the f4 square. Thank you. So let's see what is going to happen. Like, rook c makes a lot of sense. I expect rook to c1. I feel like Baza is taking a little bit too much time. There's always the 1 second increment, but you don't want to fall too far behind. Like right now, he's almost a minute down on the clock, which means that it is very likely that he will be the first one to get down to the last couple of seconds. And Darda might still have like a minute on the clock. So black has to speed up here. You definitely want to avoid the time scramble, because 1 second is literally nothing. Because here's the thing. With a 2 second increment, you can take 1 second to think, 1 second to move, but with 1 second, you just have to move. There's no time to think at all. So, and finally, we have the move e6 on the board. Knight f4 played quickly by Darda. All right, now let's see what black is going to do. I think the position is a little bit easier to play for Darda. I think the moves rook fd1 and rook ac1 are pretty straightforward here for white. And again, we see him building up a 1.5 minute advantage on the clock. But of course, he's also the big favorite in this match. He's outrating his opponent by 250 points. All right, we see the move a6. Maybe black is looking at this idea of knight takes c4, followed by b5. Definitely something Darda has to take note of. He could sidestep that with the move queen b4, also putting a little bit more pressure on that d6 pawn and threatening bishop b6, potentially forking the queen and the knight on a5. And there we have it, queen b4 on the board. All right, so knight ac6 perhaps is a move attacking the queen or moving the other knight. Let's see what Baza is gonna come up with. Yes, these juniors are super strong. They are over 2600 at the age of 17. So, yeah, I think Darda is definitely a player who's looking to go pro. Okay, knight c6 attacking the queen. Taking the pawn on b7 looked way too risky. So Darda quickly moves the queen back. He wants to go rook fd1, put a lot of pressure here. Maybe rook ac1. And I think he definitely has the advantage. All right, so rook ac1 played, rook fd8, and now there's also the idea of knight at d5. But I think Darda's just going to improve his position with rook fd1 and just ask Baza, okay, what is black going to do here? All right, and there we have it, rook fd1 on the board. All right, okay, so rook a8. Now knight d5 is definitely a move. You attack the queen, and in case black takes, you recapture with the c pawn, pinning the knight on d5, and you're guaranteed to get it back. And white will have the better pawn structure, because either black will get an isolated pawn on d6, or if you recapture the b pawn, this pawn on a6 will always be hanging. But b4, also a good move by Darda, gaining more space on the queen side and increasing the pressure. Again, I think this position is definitely easier to play for white. So Baza has his work cut out for him here. It's not easy at all for black to come up with any plan. I mean, maybe queen b8 to sidestep that knight d5 idea, but then bishop b6 is there, and you have to go rook d7. All looks a little bit clumsy. So let's see what he's going to come up with. But yeah, a great game so far for Daniel. Darda is almost up 2 minutes on the clock here. I mean, really not more you can ask for here. So let's see what he's going to do. He goes knight e7. Makes a lot of sense. Knight e5 is no longer an issue. And now let's see what Darda is going to do. b5 makes a lot of sense. Perhaps also move like f3. Just slowly but surely strengthening the position. And really just ask Black, okay, what is Black going to do here? And yeah, okay, bishop queen e1. Definitely a move, but it looks a little bit passive. I don't see what the queen is doing on e1 that it was not doing on the d2 square. Alright, so let's see, maybe queen c6 is now a move for Black attacking that pawn, which is why I like the move f3 initially. But Darda having a massive time advantage here. Up 2 minutes, queen b8 played, perhaps Black wants to go for b5, a very thematic pawn break. So Darda goes bishop b6, blocking that break, rook to d7, maybe rook a4 here. Maybe a4, gaining some space on the queen side. Black is still pretty solid. It's not easy for White to break through, but it's just so difficult for Black to come up with any sort of plan. So maybe bishop h6, rook c6. I expect Darda to draw back, or strengthen the bishop with the move a5. Good move here. Yeah, maybe b5 at some point. It's looking tough. Bishop h6 played. I expect Darda to defend the knight with the move bishop to e3. There's also g3, but you always give Black the additional possibility to double White's pawns and open up the king a little bit with bishop takes f4. So let's see. We get a question in the chat if 2700 is a super gem definition. You could definitely argue so, but some players argue that maybe it's like top 20. Anyway, g3 has been played, defending the knight. Alright, so d5, breaking in the center, but White should be better equipped to deal with this pawn break. He has the two bishops. Also, White's pieces are slightly more actively placed. So now I guess Darda is going to take twice on d5, and he should have the advantage. But let's see what he's going to come up with. This is definitely a moment where his time advantage should come in very handy. Alright, so Darda is taking his time here. But yeah, I do expect him to take on d5, either with the c pawn or with the e pawn. I guess they will lead to the same thing if you take. Black is probably going to take here, takes, and then take. And the knight is pinned. Okay, he takes with the e pawn. Okay, Black has recapture. I guess now you take with the c pawn. You can also make a case for something like c5 or b5. Position is definitely becoming very complicated here. But Darda, again, he's up a minute on the clock, and he should be better due to his bishop pair. So let's say he takes, knight takes d5, not that clear. I guess you can take, because in case Black takes on c1, you have knight f6 check. He goes bishop e3 back, alright. So maybe this gives Black the opportunity to take on c4. I think the double question mark is a little bit too harsh, but this move might give away some of Darda's advantage. That being said, I think if anyone's better, it's definitely still White because of the bishop pair. So let's see what Baza is going to play here. Alright, and he takes the pawn on c4. Okay, I guess Darda's going to take, and now take with the bishop or with the rook on c4. But hey, the Black knight could jump back to e5. He takes on c4, take knight e5, looks very logical. Attacking the bishop and threatening knight f3, but you have bishop e2 to cover both. You also have queen e2, but then you give away your advantage of the bishop pair. And the thing here really is you can keep the bishop pair on the board with bishop e2, but after knight f5, Black's knights are pretty active, so we can't really talk about a bishop pair advantage so much anymore. And here's the other thing. If you go bishop d2, Black has knight d4, threatening to take the bishop, and knight f3. So we see bishop to c5. Now Black could take and double the pawns, but he goes knight d7, an excellent move attacking the bishop. I think White should go knight d3 here, because this is a threat, and knight takes c5 is a threat, so that way you would address both. And you keep a healthy pawn structure on the queen side, yeah, and on the king side. Okay, goes knight d5, takes, queen e5 perhaps. If anything, hey, Baza is fully into the game now. I think he's actually a little bit better. Maybe bishop f8, and how do you defend that pawn on c5? Darda has thrown it away a little bit here. The pawn on c5 is pretty weak, and there's no easy way to defend it. I think he's just gonna drop that pawn. So Darda will have to fight for a draw here. And let's see what he's going to do. But the time is also evened up in the meantime. Perhaps, I mean, knight f4 takes knight d3, but I guess you just go queen e3. Goes queen e3 right away. Okay, now Black can just take the pawn with a very healthy advantage. Knight d4, perhaps, attacking the bishop, breaking the connection between the queen and the knight. There's still bishop f3, but it's looking tough here. Will Darda go down in the very first game of this match? King g7 played. Alright, he does have a knight though. Those are always tricky in time scrambles, but white is down a very, very clean pawn. You take it to queen, I suppose. And queen e1 is a move attacking this pawn and putting some pressure here, but there is knight d3 for white. Queen e4, also a very nice move. Pinning the queen to the defense of the f2 pawn. And we see queen b2 on the board. Wait, knight d3 now. Knight d3, queen b5, take. Queen takes b7, queen a5, queen b2. Darda goes h4, bishop d6, putting some pressure on the knight. I think Darda should keep the knight on the board. They will definitely keep him, give him some chances for some tactics. Knight d5. Okay, h5 played. Solid move by black, making sure that white cannot break with h5 himself. Okay, queen e4, bishop c5, and queen f5, queen d4. Excellent move. Queen f3. Darda definitely had to keep the queens on the board. Bishop d6, the players are shuffling back and forth. Knight e3, attacking the pawn. Queen b4, good move. Attacking this one, attacking this. Queen d5, bishop c7, putting more pressure. Queen g5, Darda going for some tricks, but does it work? King f8, looks a little bit panicky. Perhaps knight d5 here. Okay, king g8, queen g5. Black could have just taken the pawn, king g8. Alright, the players are moving very quickly. Oh, queen c5, queen e7, only move. Queen c4, take the pawn. You can take the pawn. And Baza is up 2 pawns, but there's still that knight on the board, and they will always give Darda some checks. He can get a pawn back, queen. Oh, knight of 6. The computer was screaming knight g8, but I didn't quite see the point. b5, bishop d8. Okay, black up 2 very, very solid pawns, but again, there's always some tricks. Queen e1, queen e6. He's repeating to gain some time on the clock. Queen c6, pinning the knight. King d6. That would have been game over. Pinning the knight, knight e3, queen c6. He gets a king d6, and there he goes, and that's game over. Darda loses the knight, and with that, it's too much. That king is still kind of exposed. Wait, queen f2 though. Check. It's not completely over just yet, but black is defending everything for the moment. I'd say, you know, move the king back, put the bishop on e7 to block everything, and that should be it. There's no okay. King e8 also fine. Bishop e7. Yep, no more checks, and now you can start pushing the a-pawn a5. Okay, queen e1 looks fine. He repeats the position once to gain some time. Queen b5, very solid move. Queen f3, bishop f6. No more checks, and you're going to start pushing the a-pawn. Push. Queen f1, that's fine. I mean, I wouldn't take that pawn, because then there's always stalemate tricks. Okay, it's not over with the 1 second increment. Queen d2, so, some checks still. Bishop d8, okay, now there's no more checks. Queen d7, push the pawn, and there he goes. Okay, queen d5, bishop b7 looks very solid. Alright, queen a8, king f7 is what I would do. King g7, queen d5, queen d8. Alright, he's having trouble setting that pawn in motion. Bishop c3, good move to defend. Queen d3 play, bishop b4. Alright, he goes queen to b5. Okay, queen e1 check, queen f2, and bishop c5. That should be it. Alright, queen f7, queen a6, king h7, queen d7. Okay, can he some bishop d2, and now you get the pawn to a4. That should be progress. Okay, you push the pawn. Maybe bring that bishop around. Bishop c1, solid move. Oh, that's a free queen. And black takes it. So Baza takes the first win in this match. Can Darda come back? There's still 5 more games to go. But Baza only needs another 2.5 points to make it to the final of the winner's bracket, but quite an upset here in the very first game. In the meantime, we see that Ohanian won his game against Pranesh, and they're off to game 2 as well. Alright, so the second game should start any second now. Let's see, but yeah, we can also have a look at this game. Ohanian, again, he has a 1-point lead in this matchup. He's quite significantly down on the clock here, more than 1.5 minutes. So let's see what he is going to do here. Black has a pretty solid position, has all of his pieces developed. For the record, this started out as a Slav defense. And we get the symmetrical structure. Black should be doing quite fine. And again, a 2-minute advantage on the clock. Bishop b6 looks pretty solid to me. And there we have it. Alright, rook to c1. I guess something like rook c8 or maybe queen d7. To me, it looks like black has a very solid position. We have to move queen to e8. I like the move. He wants to go queen f7, put some pressure on the pawn on b3, and then he can move his rook to d8 and the other one to c8. Very harmonious development. So let's see if he's going to execute that plan. Rook c8 looks logical, or queen f7 again, putting some pressure on that pawn over here. This tournament is a qualifier to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. We see knight e4 on the board, perhaps knight to c5, but I guess rook to c8 makes a lot of sense here. Eyeing the queen on c2. And there we have it. Okay, now expect queen to b1. You want to get out of that file. Now maybe a rook to d8 or a move like knight to b6, putting pressure on that pawn on d3. b3. And the moment white goes b4, you give black the a4 square. So not an easy position at all for Ohanian. He's also, again, way down on the clock. So Pranesh is looking to strike back right away in game number 2. And there we have b4. Okay, knight a4 makes a lot of sense, or just a move like rook after d8, bringing more pieces into the game. But yeah, so far Pranesh has all the reasons to be satisfied about the outcome of the opening. All the pieces are on the board. He has a 1 minute and 30 second advantage on the clock. And a very comfortable position. So let's see what he is gonna do. Okay, black taking his time here. Again, to me, rook f8 makes a lot of sense. And let's see what he is gonna do. Okay, black taking his time here. He's letting his time advantage dwindle down to a minute. Okay, we see the move a5. Now here white can either go b5 or take an a5. Both look kind of acceptable. Actually, after takes there might be some tactics with bishop takes e5, and this knight is hanging. But b5 on the board. Now the knight has to move back to a passive square. So I don't quite like that move a5, because if you wait for white to play b5, black could always go to the a5 square. But now that is not available, he goes back to b8. Now his knight can swing back into the d7 square. We see a trade on c8 and a rook to c1, perhaps queen f8, putting some pressure on that pawn on a3, which is now a little bit exposed. Again, I think if anything, Pranesh definitely has the advantage here. He's also up on the clock. So, yeah, Ohanian will have to try to equalize here. We see the move knight d7. I think taking is a good idea, because it will force the knight back to a passive square. So let's see if Ohanian is going to go for that. And that's what he does. Queen c2 attacking the knight. I guess the knight will jump out back to b6. But then there is the move queen c7 attacking that pawn. Knight d6. I mean, now you can trade maybe knight d2. Trade off some bishops. Again, it feels like Ohanian, the worst is behind for him. But the time is still an issue. He's down a minute on the clock. So let's see if he can even that out the next couple of moves. Okay, bishop f8. Logical move. Black wants to play something like knight c5, being sure that that bishop is never under attack. Perhaps something like bishop d3, taking the pawn, bishop c4. Also a very logical move. Trading off the bishops, and so that white gets more control over the light squares. And maybe, since we are approaching the endgame, white can also start thinking about bringing that king into the game. And again, the game should be approximately even. Yeah, Ohanian playing a very solid game right now. He realized he had a worse position, and so he went into defensive mode and solved pretty much all of his problems. Okay, so we see a trade on c4. He can take with the knight, take with the queen. Both look completely fine for white. He takes with the queen, the more solid approach. Now here black can take, but black can also play knight b6 and trade under his terms. He takes and goes a4, fixing the pawn on a3. But I think now is a good time to bring the king into the game with king of 1 to e2, and that's what he does. King of 1 is on the board. I think black will do the same. King of 7 to e6 to d5 looks very logical. Maybe at some point white will have to play the move e4 to make sure that the black king cannot go to d5, because that could be a problem. Because you want to keep this knight over here. Also, the pawn on b5 will become weak. And, wait. Alright. Okay, wait, black is thinking also. Wait, in my head, black had already played the move king e7, but there we finally have it, king e2. King e6, I assume. e4 also makes a lot of sense, to make sure that white cannot play e4 himself. Because again, I think in case of black goes king e6, you definitely have to go e4 here. And Ohanian realizes that. He does not want to let the black king step up to d5. Bishop c5, f3, solidifying the pawn structure. He's putting all of these pawns on the light squares so that this dark square bishop can never attack it. I think this game should be headed for a draw. The time is also even. I think both these pawns are equally weak. Same goes for the b5 pawn. And there's really no good way for black to attack it. He goes h5. White could consider knight a5, attacking the pawn, provoking b6, and then moving the knight back. He goes g4. Now black could go perhaps h4 and swing that knight around to g6, or go knight f7, king d7, knight e6, threat knight f4, and the moment you go bishop d2, you allow knight at d4. So perhaps still a way for Pranesh to create some problems here for Ohanian. Let's see if he's going to go for it. That's really the only plan I see. He goes g6, But I think f5 will just lead to simplifications. King d3, good move. Perhaps bishop e1 could be an idea. We see bishop to e7. I think he's planning to go f5 here and defend the pawn that way. He goes knight c5 check. Okay, king c2. Alright, knight b3. The game is definitely sharpening up now. Knight d4 is an idea. Forking the king and the pawns on f3 and b5. So perhaps white has to go bishop f2, and that's what he does. Bishop c5. He wants to get the bishops off the board. Alright, now you can take though, and king c3 to b4. And this could turn into a bit of a race, where black goes after the kingside pawns, but white starts collecting these pawns on the queenside. f5, breaking on that side of the board. I guess you take once. You don't want to take twice, because then the king steps up very quickly. So even though the bar is right in the middle, this game is heating up. Let's see. Okay, Ohanian takes twice. King f5. Okay, king f4 now, but king c4 attacking the knight. I guess you defend with b6 or move the knight. This is turning, again, into a race. Okay, knight d7, take on f3. And the e-pawn starts running. King g3, you can also consider that. Okay, takes upon f3, knight c5. Okay, now both players can promote at the same time. It goes to knight b6, king d3 to stop the e-pawn perhaps. But then black can go after the h-pawn. This should lead to a draw, I would think. Like king b4 is possible as well perhaps. And sack the knight. King d3 played. Okay, now I guess king g2 and take the h-pawn. But it feels like there's just too little material left for either player to create anything. Ohanian, he's up in a match, so it draws a fine result by him. I think if black wants to play on, he has to go king g3, and that's what he does. King e4 takes still some chances, but the knight should be able to stop the h-pawn, and white is always making a draw here on the queen side. Okay, I guess king g2 maybe, but knight d3 and knight f4 looks like a very clean path to quality. Okay, knight f4, you have to go knight f4, and that's what he plays. Knight c4, king d5, oh, king d4, wait. Oh, knight d6, attack the pawn. That's a big mistake. And b6, you take the knight. Wait, will he find it? Knight d6 is winning here. And he finds it. King, knight d6 on the board. Knight e2, king f2, knight c3. Wait, but how are you stopping that h-pawn? h3, b6, h2. Wait, king g2. Oh, wait, he takes it. b7. Wait, we're going to get a very exciting endgame here with black having a queen and a knight and white having a queen. I think if white takes this pawn, it's theoretically a draw, but it's super tough in a blitz game. King c5. Black is lacking coordination. King b5, and the a-pawn is going to disappear from the board. King a5, that's not a move. Wait. Knight d4, king c5 still. Knight c2, you cannot trade knight f... Okay, but now the king comes closer. This should be a win for black. King d2, the king can nicely hide over here. Is queen e3 a win? I don't think so. Knight e1. Black's going to take here. Oh, that's a queen. Alright, so Pranesh levels up the score. It is 1-1. What a match. What a match here so far. Alright, so very exciting stuff so far. Let's have a very quick look at what is happening over here. Darda and Baza. Darda! He is about to be down 2 points because Baza has a winning position in game number 2. What a shocker this would be. Darda, the big favorite, outrating his opponent by 250 points. But he's in big trouble here. He lost the first game with the white pieces, and now with black, he's in massive trouble. White can just pick up the g5 pawn, and white will be up 1, 2, 3 pawns. Wow. Can Darda come back from this? It goes king of8. I guess you take over here, and bishop d7, defending the f5 pawn, but it looks lost. Alright, so let's see if Baza is going to go for that. Very tough start here for Darda, and this is a tough thing about a 6-game match. Like, you blink, and all of a sudden you're down 2 points in the match. And, hey, 2 points is a lot. Because then Baza will only need another 1.5 point. Darda will have to win at least 2 games to come back in the match. So let's see what is going to happen here. Rook g6. Perhaps he wants to go rook to d6. Rook c2 check. I guess you go king up. You give back the h2 pawn, but now you activate the king. That being said, though, Baza, he is down to his last 20 seconds. Rook d6 played, king e7. Alright, rook h6, nice move. He wants to go rook to h7. Perhaps d6 as well. This looks lost for Darda. This looks lost. And hey, you're not getting back any pawns. Rook e8. Okay, king d3. Wait, king d3, is that game over? You tag the rook, you turn rook h7. There's still rook f2. Okay, rook, king d3 on the board, rook c8. Okay, but now d6 or rook h7 should be game over because white wins another piece. d6 on the board. King d8, check here, and something. Rook e7, bishop h5. d7, check, king up, check. There's no way this is a perpetual. I think the king just steps up the board, and this should be 2-0. Wow, wow. Who would have expected this Darda to go down 2-0? Yeah, there's no checks. There's no checks. So Baza is going to win game number 2 as well. What a shocking start in this this matchup. Darda, he had a great position in game 1 with the white pieces. Oh, wait, there's still some stalemate tricks. You don't want to take this pawn, but I guess you just go... oh, never mind. Never mind. There's always king e7. There's no stalemate. You just take. You just take. You just take because black has to play king e7. Alright, so Baza wins game number 2 as well. Darda's got his work cut out for him. He's got to make up a 2-point deficit. Alright, so yeah, and in the meantime, we are off here in game number 3 between Pranesh and Ohanian. The score here is 1-1. White has a very, very slightly better endgame here. But objectively, this is very holdable for black. This should be a draw. But white is a little bit better because white has 2 pawn islands and black now has a lot. He has 4. He has these isolated pawns, bishop d6. Everything is holding together here, but hey, this pawn on the a6 is weak, the pawn on e6 is weak, and white's pawns are all very nicely protected. You don't want to take this pawn over here because white goes g3, the bishop is trapped, and also this pawn will be hanging. So let's see what Ohanian is going to do. He goes rook b8, b3, a5, but this rook over here is making sure that black cannot go a4 and get rid of his isolated pawn. Okay, so we see rook to c1. Again, I think white definitely has the advantage here, but will it be enough for the win? That's always the big question in these types of endgames. King e7 on the board, perhaps g3 and bishop f4. If you trade off this bishop, you will get access to either the c7 pawn or the c7 square for your rook. He goes rook g4. He's slowly but surely prodding and poking black, trying to provoke some weaknesses. g6 and h5. Black is holding everything together, but maybe he wants to go for g4, opening up the second front on the king side. If we see king to d7, perhaps rook to c4. Again, making sure that black cannot get in this move. I feel like black should hold, but it is unpleasant, especially in a blitz game with little time to defend. We see rook c4, swinging the rook all the way back. Rook b4, Ohanian trying to get in some trades. Perhaps bishop d2, and trading on your terms. You don't quite want to take here, because black is going to recapture the a-pawn, and then the pawn on a2 will be backwards. So rook c2, Pranesh playing this very, very patiently, and slowly but surely improving his position. And the thing really for Ohanian is that he doesn't really have a plan. Like, what is black going to do? Black can only sit here, and that's always very unpleasant in a blitz game. So I think Pranesh is just banking on the fact that maybe Ohanian will make an unforced error. So let's see what he's going to do. Perhaps you just go king e7 and d7 and ask white, like, hey, how are you planning to improve your position? But the time is ticking. Ohanian is down 30 seconds on the clock. And, oh, he made a move. He played a rook d to b5, bishop d2. Excuse me, we have some more moves on the board. King f1. Aha, now bishop f4. That's what I was talking about. Attacking the rook. And then you take here, and if black recapture the c-pawn, there's rook to c7. And all of a sudden, black has weaknesses all over the place. So Pranesh definitely has the advantage here. And hey, if you take with the king, then white will just take the pawn on c7. So this is looking tough for Ohanian. I honestly don't see how he's going to keep things together. Here goes rook to d5. I think now you definitely want to take it. Black takes with the pawn, takes with the king. Okay, now either check or take the pawn right away. And white has a very solid advantage. King e5, there's even rook to e2. This looks extremely unpleasant. King e7, rook c7, king f6. That being said, it's only a pawn though. It's only a pawn. Perhaps g3 now. So you create a nice little square for your king on g2. We see the move rook to c4. Okay, so let's see what Ohanian is going to do to try to create some counterplay. He goes rook to d8, g3. Nice move creating the g2 square for his king. And again, white is up a pawn and black has all of these weaknesses. So I think there's a good chance that in his next black game, Ohanian might switch it up. Because this endgame, you're just suffering for a draw, and it's unpleasant. The draw is not easy to achieve at all, we see here. So we see the move h4, fixing the pawns on this side of the board. Perhaps he's looking at a move like rook f4, and if the king steps back, then something like rook to c7. But yeah, it's looking tougher for Ohanian. He goes rook to b5, rook f4 check. Can you go rook f5? Well, there might be takes, followed by rook to c5. Perhaps black still has to move a4, but moving the king back and allowing rook c7 also does not look pleasant. So he goes rook f5. And now let's see, I think it might be a little bit hasty to just trade the rooks here. Perhaps you just keep the rooks on the board with something like rook d4, followed by rook c6, and again you slowly but surely start attacking black's weaknesses. Alright, so let's see what Pranesh is going to do. He goes rook to c4. Alright, Ohanian, he's down to his last minute here. And he just has to sit. He just has to sit, or he goes g5, trying to create some counterplay. Rook f4 check, perhaps. Here, maybe you can take... Hey, this looks like a nice line. Rook f4. Okay, rook e2. I just wanted to point out, I think rook f4 made a lot of sense, because in case of rook f5, you take, if you take with the king, there's rook c5, and you win the pawn right away. And if you take with the pawn, there's a check. King g5 check here, rook g6 would have made. And otherwise, rook c5 with a double attack. Anyway, rook c8 on the board. He's trying to give a check on f8. Wait, this gives black the opportunity to go h4 and create the counterplay he needs. But he goes rook d5. He's sitting here for the moment. Black is defending everything. This rook is defending the pawn on a5 and the pawn on h5. And this rook is defending the pawn on e6. So we see rook to c2 by Pranesh. Rook d2 offering a rook trade. This could be somewhat in black's favor. It would alleviate some of the pressure. And we see rook c5. Okay, maybe you take now. Or a4 as well, but you cannot let white take and take over here. So let's see what Ohanian is going to do. He's down to 30 seconds. Can Pranesh get another win here with the white pieces and take the lead in the match? Okay, so we see a trade on c2. Okay, king h3, a4. So if you take there's rook d4, and you get the pawn back. Rook d4 is rook d4 would be the only move. I think this is a good idea by Ohanian, trading down some pawns, liquidate the position a little bit. a5, rook a4, or rook c5. Okay, you take over here. Oh, f4, and this pawn is under attack. And king g6, rook e5. And you win a second pawn. That should be it. Rook e5, or check there. Rook e5 now. You threaten to take this pawn, and if you go king g6 to dodge the check, white takes here. Up 2 pawns, that should be a very straightforward win for Pranesh. But hey, you never know in a blitz game. Something like rook, it's not over just yet. Rook b5. Because I guess the moment you start walking your king over, you might hang the pawn on g3. So let's see how he's gonna do this. Okay, king h4. Okay, he would want to go g4. So I guess king g6, if you move the rook, you would allow that. Okay, still not over king f6. Rook e5. Okay, nice move. Now you have to move the rook. And then white can get in g4, g5. I think that's definitely a good way to make progress. Check, king back, check. Okay, check now. King f7. I think something like rook b5, and perhaps you give a check and go here. Okay, maybe king g4, king f3, good move, and he can walk the king up to e5. King e3. Okay, king h5. Rook e5 should be winning. Wait, rook a3, it's not over. King d4. Okay, he moves back and forth, check. White also has a big time advantage. Okay, if you take g6, to me that looks winning. G6 followed by a6. This should be a very straightforward win. a6. And the rook nicely defends the pawns on a6 and g6. Or g7. G7 might be even more accurate. Rook e7, and then there's no way black can stop all of the pawns. a6, a7, g8, and rook e8. And that's all she wrote. And there we have it. Pranesh with excellent technique here. Takes game number 3. And takes a 1-point lead in the match. Alright. So yeah, Ohanian's got his work cut out for him. Let's see if Darda can come back. But look at this, he's down a pawn. If Darda loses this game, he is on the brink of defeat. He will have to win pretty much. Yeah, he will have to win the next 3 games. He goes bishop e3. It's not over though. Black is only up a pawn, and this knight can jump to f5, maybe create some tricks. And there we have it. Maybe black's going to push this pawn down the board. Both players are getting very low on time. There we see rook a3, pinning the bishop on e3. Maybe something like queen g4. D6 followed by queen d5 is an idea as well. And there we have a d6 on the board. Alright, let's see what Baza is going to do. He's down to 20 seconds. Darda, 8 seconds on the clock. G6, maybe check, take. Looks all right for black. Can you take, or is that a blunder? Wait, it feels like... Oh, he had check and then take, because if you take here. Big missed opportunity by Darda. He goes h4, but this doesn't look good. He's down 2 pawns. He only has 3 seconds on the clock. He goes queen h3, preparing h6. If Darda loses this game, it's almost over. And I think he's lost. King f2, only move. King h2 would have liked queen h5. And look at this queen. This queen is completely locked in. Queen h4, check. You can take another pawn, but that would allow queen d8. Queen e8 and Darda still some chances. Check. Takes the pawn. This should be a perpetual. Not the desired result for Darda, but a draw is of course always... Okay, queen here. And there's no way that black can block. So of course not the desired result for Darda, but a draw is always better than a loss. Check. You just keep checking along the 6th rank. And this should be a draw. So a missed opportunity here by Baza, but he keeps a 2-point lead and he gets half a point closer to the final of the winner's bracket. And there we have it. The draw is in the book. So Darda is down 2.5 to half. He will have to come back very, very quickly before it is too late. All right, anyway, and they are off. Baza opens up with the move c4. Darda goes e6. And we see the Neo-Catalan by Baza delaying the move d4, which gives white some additional opportunities, but it also gives black the additional option of playing d4 here. That black can do here. He goes a5, he wants to go a4, and soften up white's pawn structure on the queen side. Also, guys, we are now in the 3+1 portion, so the games are only getting faster and faster, and after this game, we will move on to the 1+1 segment. So bishop to b2, black could consider d4, he goes knight d7, just developing, and let's see if white is eventually going to go d4, or if he's going to completely avoid it altogether. He goes e3, perhaps opening up the e2 square for his queen. b6 by Darda. Perhaps he wants to bring on the bishop to a6, putting some pressure on this pawn. Or to b7, both are very possible. d3. Okay, white playing this very, very slowly, keeping all the pieces on the board. I think Darda cannot be too unhappy about this opening. Again, he needs to win with the black pieces. And if you keep all the pieces on the board, that generally gives you the best chances for a win. Okay, b5. He wants to open up this diagonal for his bishop. So let's see how Baza is going to deal with that. He can take, goes knight d4, putting some pressure on pawn on b5 and the pawn on c6. Queen b6 looks like a very convenient way to solve both problems, and that's what Darda does. He defends both pawns. All right, so let's see. I don't think you quite want to take, because that opens up the scope for the bishop. Perhaps you just improve the position with a move like rook to c1. But he takes an a4. Very interesting. Because now in case of b4, you get a knight to b5. But black can always go e5 and undermine this knight on d4. Darda takes, knight takes. Perhaps queen to b7, keeping an eye on the pawn on b3. The pawn on d3 is somewhat weak though. Black can go for something like knight e5 to put a lot of pressure on it. So I slightly prefer Darda's position. It feels like he has no weaknesses. And again, this pawn on d3 is pretty weak. We see queen to d2 on the board. I guess something like rook to c8 or bishop b4 attacking that queen. And hey, knight e5 is still a move in the position. Although knight e5 might allow some tactics like knight to c6, attacking the rook, and then hanging the knight on e5. So I think you want to avoid that. Also, I just realized, if Darda loses one more game, he loses the match. It's match point for Baza. So again, Darda is with his back against the wall. He goes for rook f to e8. I guess he might be preparing the move e5, bishop c3, attacking that pawn over here. So now it looks like a great time to go for the move e5. In case of knight f5, you can go bishop f8, and the pawn is nicely protected since you put your rook there. Bishop f8 first. He's giving up the pawn on a5, but can white take it? I guess white could, but white is lacking some coordination after that, and maybe knight e5 is a move, or just e5. So let's see what Darda has in mind in case white actually does take the pawn. All right, so let's see what Baza is going to do. But again, this would be a big, big upset. If Darda, the big rating favorite, gets knocked out from the winner's bracket. Keep in mind, though, that he will still have a chance in the loser's bracket if he wins his matches there. But yeah, then he will be on his last life. So let's see what he is going to do. All right, Baza taking his time here. He's dropping behind on the clock. Darda now having a 30-second advantage here. So let's see what Baza is going to do. He's taking a long time. He's taking a long time. I guess eventually he will settle on taking this pawn, because I guess that's the... Okay, he goes for rook fc1, bring the rook into the game. Makes a lot of sense, because now that rook is never hanging on this diagonal. Maybe now Darda will go pawn to e5, attacking the knight, and the knight will jump back to either e2 or f3. It goes knight e5, okay, attacking the pawn on d3. You could defend it with knight b2 if you want to, and you also open up this attack for your rook. So to me that makes a lot of sense. Another option is to take an a5 and then go rook c7. Two very attractive options, I would think, for Baza. So let's see which one he's going to come up with. Knight b2, perhaps Darda has something like bishop b4 in mind. He takes the pawn on a5. Okay, so now if Darda takes, I guess he wants rook c7. Getting very tricky here. Darda, he's up 50, almost 45 seconds on the clock. He goes rook c8, making sure that white does not have this move. There's knight b6 ideas for white, though. Take, and then you move the rook, perhaps. 30 seconds left for Baza. He really has to be a little bit careful with the time. He goes bishop f1, defending that pawn over here. But now if Black is somehow able to undermine this knight on d4, he could get a fork over here. Knight g6 looks a little bit odd to me. He wants to go e5, but that's really it. Okay, knight b6, forcing the trade of rooks. Rook e8, I guess, going all in on that e5 idea. Again, Darda, he's up on the clock, but he is down a pawn on the board. So let's see what he's going to go with. Rook b8 also move. He's got to move here. He's got to try to keep his time advantage and find a way to try to trick Baza. So let's see what he is going to do. Okay, bishop g2, perhaps knight e5 back, attacking the pawn, but I guess white will go bishop f1 again. e5, also an option, attacking the knight. The knight could jump forward or backwards. So let's see, knight e2 on the board. Maybe a rook e6, attacking that knight. And if you move the knight, it goes e4, sharpening up the game. Now his knight can jump back to e5 and perhaps f3. He takes the knight. Queen c2. Okay, things getting pretty sharp. Knight e5, moving all of his pieces towards the king side. Knight f4. Okay, white is threatening this pawn on d5, which looks very awkward to protect. Maybe knight g4, you have to create some sort of counterplay. If white takes, you take an f2. This is definitely the type of position Darda wants, with white having 10 seconds on the clock. He takes the pawn on d5. Okay, now Darda's going to take an f2. With which knight, though? I guess with the g9. If you take it this knight, maybe there's h3. 37 seconds left for Darda. Let's see what he is going to do. Okay, knight takes f2 makes a lot of sense. He's got to move here, 29 seconds. Okay, knight takes f2 on the board. Maybe bishop e1. Things are getting extremely sharp. But queen c6, very clever decision by Baza. He wants to get the queens off the board. A draw would be a good result for him. And also, he's down on clock. And then might make the position a little bit easier to play. I think Darda cannot escape the queen trade. If you go here, there's bishop b6. So he trades bishop b7. Knight d3 maybe. Or knight g4. That's what he does. h3, maybe kicking the knight back. Rook c7. Bishop a8, just keep that bishop on the board. And he takes an e4. Aha, wait, rook c8. Wait, rook c8. Attacking the bishop. Also threatening some stuff over here. Bishop c6. Bishop takes. This looks tough. This looks tough. It feels like Darda is fighting for a draw. Bishop b4. Wait. How are you not losing a piece? And he's losing a piece. If Darda loses this game, it's all over. If Darda loses this game, he gets knocked down into the loser's bracket. He can still make it from there, but that would be quite a shocker. Knight check, and he's down a full piece. A full piece. And the one piece he has is super passive. Knight takes f6 or bishop takes. This should be game over. Take. Knight d5. Take. Knight f4 check. Okay. g6. It's not game over just yet. He's starting. Okay, h4 would close down the mating net. And you cannot stop this. And Darda loses. Darda loses the match 3.5 to half. Who would have expected this? And Baza moves on to the final of the winner's bracket. So Darda, he is now on his last life. He moves to the quarterfinals, I believe, of the loser's bracket. And Baza moves to the final. If he wins his next match, he will qualify to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. In the meantime, these two guys, Ohanian and Pranesh, are going back and forth. Ohanian leveled up the score in game number 4, and they are now... and he took the lead in game number 5. So if Ohanian wins if Ohanian draws this game, he makes it into the final of the winner's bracket as well. Okay, we see g4. He's got a very, very nice knight here on e4 that is blocking the e5 pawn, which is blocking the bishop. So white has a very pleasant advantage. So let's see if he can bring it home. But Pranesh doing all he can to complicate this position as much as possible. Queen g3 played. Okay, bishop f5. We definitely have a double-edged fight here on our hands. And we see bishop f5 on the board. Can you do something like this? I mean, rook f1, queen e7. I don't quite see how to make it work. He goes queen f3. Really, anything can happen here. If this game, by the way, ends in a draw, we will see an Armageddon between Ohanian and Pranesh, which would be very exciting. Bishop h7 played. And I think there's definitely a chance that will happen. I mean, the position is very double-edged. Black is a little bit more time on the clock, so let's see how Pranesh will try to strike back here. Queen e7, rook f8, bringing more pieces in, or does that allow that? Okay, now white has the opportunity to go rook f1. I think definitely a good move to get a little bit more control in the position of rook g8. Okay, let's see what he's going to do here. Maybe something like c4 and b3. That's hanging a pawn. I would take it. I would take it. I mean, you have to win with black. You have to win, and there he goes, queen e6. Okay, so in case of takes, he wants to get his knight to d5. Bishop e3, attacking the pawn, and stopping the knight from jumping in. Let's see what's going to happen here. Maybe e7, but I don't see how you're hanging on to the pawn. Rook f7 also, and he goes knight e4, attacking this pawn over here. Bishop e6, knight d6, b6, defending the c5 pawn, and this one over here, king h7. Yeah, Ohanian down a very, very clean pawn here. If Pranesh wins this game, we will move on to an Armageddon. So let's see if he can pull it off. Knight h4, trying to jump in. Okay, he's going to repeat once, but he's not going to repeat twice, because then he gets knocked out. Bishop b3, maybe taking this pawn over here. And a rook d1 would be an idea. He allowed that. Bishop g7, covering everything. Rook e1, bishop g4, picking up the h5 pawn. Can Pranesh pull this off? Rook d1 would be a nice move. Rook e8 just to defend. Or e4. Okay, takes. It's not over. Black is up a pawn. He's got the bishop pair. And white is down to his last 3 seconds. But it's always tricky when a knight is still on the board. And hey, it is only one pawn. So this game is far from being over. Rook f8, king e1. Rook d8 or rook a8. This should be a win, practically speaking. Rook a3. Take. Rook a3 looks like an extremely strong move. Will he find it? Rook a3. That could be game. He goes rook a1. Check. He gets a rechance. Rook a3 takes. No, rook b5. Rook b5. Rook b5. And Ohanian has leveled the material. Wait. Rook b7. Excellent move. Pinning the bishop. Rook b8. Knight f3. This should be a draw now. If Ohanian draws this game, he will move on to the final. And I think he will. Just keep checking. Check. Check. And how do you get out of the repetition? Check. Is that already a threefold check? King g6. I don't think black can do it. And check. And it's a draw. Ohanian moves on to the final of the winner's bracket. All right. So, yeah, we see this game between Ohanian and Pranesh ending in a draw. All right. So let's see if we can have a very quick look at the bracket. Let's try to pull it up. But so far, we see that that Baza and Ohanian move on to the final. Let's see if we can pull this up. Yes, and so we see the bracket right here. Oh, wait. Yes, we see the bracket right here. We see that Darda got knocked out by Baza and Ohanian knocks out Pranesh. So we see that Ohanian and Baza are gonna square off in the final. Let's have a look at what happened in the losers bracket. There we see that, let's have a quick look. We see that Nagar and Harsh are still duking it out, but Aditya Mittal, he moves on to the quarterfinals. So let's have a look if we can catch any of the games there. Yeah, so Harsh and Nagar are still playing. Yeah, here it's all even, so game number 6 is gonna show up any second now. All right. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, this game. So yeah, let's look real quick. So Nagar wins game number 1. He won game number 2. Then Harsh won game 3 and game 4. So it feels like maybe Harsh is the better player in the faster time controls. But whoever wins game number 6 will move on to the quarterfinals of the losers bracket. So let's see. Yeah, the game should pop up any second now. Let's see if it will here soon. All right. All right. Some people in the chat were asking, was that knight not hanging? No, the bishop on g7 was pinned. No, when I was younger, there was no junior speed chess championship. When I was younger, like Chesscom was still starting up. Like, yeah, there was no like speed chess championship, all of those things. So it's really amazing to see how the platform has grown. All right, so game number 6, I don't see it just yet. It should pop up any second. Wait, why do we not see it yet? That's a little bit odd to me. All right, so let's see what is gonna happen. All right. I don't think it's Big's fault. I don't think it's Big's fault. We still have one more game to watch here, but I don't see it. I don't see it. It should. Let me see if a refresh will work. No, I don't. I don't see it. It's a little bit odd. Yeah, because hey, Nagar won game 1. He won game 2. Harsh won game number 3 and game number 4. So it's 2.5, 2.5. We still have one more game to play. All right. So our staff is trying to find out what is going on. Game should be getting underway pretty soon, I would think. But yeah, stay tuned, everyone. Should be getting underway any second now. The arbiters are figuring it out, what exactly is going on. So let's hope we can just get underway soon. Alright, we're still figuring it out. Okay. Okay, so let's see. Yep, mod check. Okay, so let's see if any of the mods know. It's Akshan's fault, the games haven't started yet. Okay. Alright, so let's see what... yeah, the games have not started yet. Alright, hopefully we will get started underway. But hey, if you guys have any questions in the chat, anything you guys want to discuss, feel free to ask, you know, so we can fill the time a little bit. Hello, Akshan. Alright, so yeah, hopefully game 6 will get underway very, very soon. Still figuring out what's going on. It feels good. It feels good to get a breather now. It feels good to get a breather. That's for sure. Yeah. I don't think there's any Germans playing in the qualifier. We have a player from Belgium, a player from Ukraine. We have a player from India, from Armenia. We have one more player from India, a player from Poland who unfortunately got knocked out because he won. Wait. So actually, Aditya Mittal, he started his match down 0-2, but he won game 3, 4, 5, and 6. So Jan Malek got knocked out. So saying goodbye to him. And here we have 2 more players from India. Yep. Belgium, the Belgian flag has similar, they have the same colors as the German flag, just in a different direction. Anyway, we should be getting underway any second now. This is not my fault, you guys. This is not my fault. Let's hope we will get underway very, very soon. All right. All right. Well, we're not hearing anything from the arbiter, so if so if yeah, it's a little bit odd. We're not hearing anything, so we are gonna be taking. If it is fine with everyone, when will the match start? I don't know. I don't know. They should have been playing game 6 already, but they haven't, which is a little bit odd. Anyway, we are going to be taking a very, very short break. But do not go anywhere, guys. We will be right back with the finals of the winner's bracket of the Junior Speed Chess Championship qualifier. Who is going to be the first player to make it? Is it going to be Ohanian or is it going to be Baza, who scored a big upset by knocking out Daniel Darda? We also still have many players in the loser's bracket, so still lots of action to look forward to. So we will see you after the break. And welcome back everyone to the Junior Speed Chess Championship Qualifier. We have the Armageddon here between Nagar and Harsh. And it's looking great for Harsh. Harsh apparently bid 4 minutes and 21 seconds, outbidding Nagar. And so he only needs a draw here, but he has a great position with the black pieces. I honestly have no idea, like, did game 6 ever take place? White has the bishop pair, but he's also way down on clock. I don't think there's any increment. Black's up 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock. Something like bishop b4 looks great here, and attacking the pawn. Alright, so we have bishop to h4. But maybe one of the mods can tell me in the chat. So game 6, it took place. I guess we just missed it. Anyway, so rook f1, attacking the pawn on the 4. But again, black only needs a draw. So you can also go for something like knight e3 takes here. Then after that, take here. And yeah, Harsh, it looks great for him now to move on to the next round. So let's see what he's going to do. Knight e3 on the board. Okay, white has to take here. I guess you take. Then take an a4. And black is still up 2 pawns. And it is white who needs a win here. Also down 1 minute on the clock. Bishop takes a4. Looks like a very, very clean pawn to take. You take the pawn on c2, and you're making way for the a-pawn to push down the board. So I think we're going to say goodbye, probably to Nagar here, but it's never over until it's over. He goes rook to f1, taking that pawn over here, f5, maybe g4, try to open it up, but actually it doesn't really work because bishop takes c2, defends everything. He goes rook to f1, defending everything, maybe rook here, rook e4, also looks fine, bishop g3, perhaps he's looking at bishop d6, trying to chip away black's pawn structure, rook e2 perhaps, trying to get to that c2 pawn, and let's see what is going to happen. But yeah, looking very tough for Nagar. Okay, so we see rook c8 on the board, defending the c pawn. Black still up 1 minute on the clock. I guess you just drop the bishop back like here, and you go a4. Also bishop b6 is there to this pawn. But rook b1, Nagar keeps fighting. He wants to get that rook to b7 and maybe create some counter chances. Bishop f4. Again, it's not over until it's over. We see rook to e8. Maybe he wants to go there with the rook. Rook b7, attacking the bishop, bishop c6, rook c7. Maybe a4, you start setting that pawn in motion, and there he goes. A-pawn actually runs very quickly, because rook a7 can always be met by rook to a8. And Nagar is down to his last 30 seconds. Bishop h6, but I don't think it really does anything. You just keep pushing. Just push the pawn, and I don't see how black's going to stop. Rook e7 played. Okay, check. Black is fine with the draw. I think he might just do that, because with the draw, black moves on to the next stage. Nagar down to his last 20 seconds. What is he going to do? I think he just takes the draw. He realizes it's all over. He's got 20 seconds on the clock. He's down 2 pawns, and the position is quite hopeless. So Harsh moves on in the loser's bracket, and we say goodbye to Nagar. He fought very hard, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. So let's have a very quick look at the bracket with that last game in the books. We see that in the winner's bracket, again, that Ohanian and Baza move on to the final. They are going to be fighting it out. Then we see that Pranesh, he gets knocked down to the loser's bracket. He is going to be playing against Harsh. And Aditya Mittal is gonna play Daniel Darda. So 2 strong grandmasters fighting it out in the losers bracket. They are down to their last life. If they lose the match, that will be it. All right, and we are already off in the final of the winners bracket in the game between Ohanian and Baza. The winner of this match moves on to the Junior Speed Chess Championship with all the big names. So let's see who's gonna make it here. Ohanian, he's up a pawn, but black has pretty good compensation. He's got the 2 bishops. This pawn on e3 is a little bit weak. He's also got pressure along the b file. And it looks like Baza is in his prep. He's got almost 5 minutes on the clock, whereas Ohanian, he's already down to 4:30. We see d6, maybe on something like knight d5, or maybe move the bishop back to c4, putting pressure on that f7 pawn. So let's first fix the scene and pull up the game over here. All right, so d6 on the board. Let's see what is going to happen. Alright, rook f8 looks a little bit passive, but he is getting out of this pin. He is now ready to move his knight somewhere like here, here, and it defends the pawn on f7. Furthermore, queen e2 played. Defending that bishop once more. Maybe someone like queen b6 attack this pawn over here. So let's see what is going to happen. Alright, so Baza taking his time here. He goes queen b6, attacking that pawn over here. Maybe you just defend it by moving a rook to d1. Now e4 becomes an idea again, because the bishop is attacked once more, so you can no longer just take that pawn, because it will leave this hanging. So let's see what Ohanian is going to do here. He's still got perhaps a slight initiative. Okay, rook d1 to defend. Maybe now e4 looks like a nice move. It attacks this knight and also threatens bishop takes e3, followed by this. But I guess there's still knight d4 with a fine position. So let's see what is going to happen here. All right. Okay, so Baza taking his time. We also saw that in the match against Darda, where often he got down on the clock, but Darda didn't find a way to punish him. So let's see if Ohanian is able to do it. Darda, he is really the big favorite because he outrates his opponent so much in classical chess. But I feel like Ohanian, he's a player who's very experienced in the online game. I think he's close to 3,000, or just below, or like he's 3,000, or just a little bit below that. So definitely a big name to watch out for. And again, we see he's up a minute on the clock here. So let's see if he can make his way. So bishop h6, putting more pressure on that e3 pawn. But perhaps now Ohanian is looking at stuff like takes and knight takes e5, setting that d pawn in motion. Also, you potentially get access to the d5 square. He goes king h1. Black can still take here, but it would lead to the same thing after takes, take here, and knight takes e5. So let's see if he is going to go for that. Okay, so king h1 on the board. Again, Ohanian has quite a hefty time advantage here. He's almost up 1.5 minutes on the clock. So Baza will have to try to make up for that at some point. And yeah, just to confirm you guys, game 6 between Nagar and Harsh, it did end in a draw. For some reason, it just never showed up in the events page. So that is why we were watching the Armageddon between these two players. Alright, so let's see what's going to happen. We see e4 on the board, perhaps now knight at d4. It doesn't feel quite coherent what Baza is going to do. Like bishop h6 and e4, those two moves don't really mix, I would say. And I think after knight e4, it looks pretty good for Ohanian. He's jumping around with his knights. This is hanging. And it feels like black is in some trouble. So let's see what is going to happen. Knight d4 on the board. It looks great here for Ohanian. He's got a time advantage. It also looks like he's better on the board. And yeah, we see knight e5. Now you could perhaps take the pawn on e4. Also, knight d5 looks very, very tempting. Trying to jump into the f6 square. But is there anything concrete in case black takes this pawn? Now, fortunately for Ohanian, he's got quite a bit of time to figure it out. So let's see what he's going to do. To me, this looks very logical. You just take another pawn, you defend this, but the computer isn't too impressed after just bishop to g7, and he goes for it. He takes the pawn on e4. It's worth pointing out bishop g4 fails the knight f6 check, and you win the bishop. So let's see what he's going to do. He goes bishop g7. Now bishop g4 is definitely an idea, attacking the queen and the rook. So maybe you make a move like h3. Make sure that bishop g4 is never in the position. Ohanian, he's quite a bit up on the clock, but it's still all to play for. Because, again, these two bishops are pretty strong. White's pieces are a little bit loose. This bishop is a little bit loose. This pawn on b2 is often hanging. The pawn on d6. It can turn into a very strong passer, but it can also easily drop off the board. So let's see what he is going to come up with. I feel like this game is still very much unbalanced. And the time is slowly but surely evening up here. So let's see what is going to happen. He goes h3, very logical, making sure that bishop g4 is never a move. And yeah, maybe bishop to b7. Let's see what is going to happen. I don't think you can quite stop knight f6. Perhaps you'll have to give your bishop or just sidestep with the king. Okay, bishop b7, attacking the knight. Knight f6 looks very logical here. You either have to take or just move your king into the corner with king h8. But yeah, let's see what this can have. After king h8, maybe something like queen f2 followed by queen h4 could be annoying. So perhaps you should take, but then you give up your bishop pair, and it feels like white should have a lot of the trumps. So let's see what he's... Okay, so knight c3 played, defending that bishop on b5 once more. But now, can black take on d6? Let's see if he's gonna do that. That would perhaps allow some sort of discovery with knight f5, and then maybe taking the bishop on g7 that way. Also moves like a4 or rook b d8, going after the d pawn. Maybe now knight a4, attacking the queen and moving the knight to c5 looks like a very good move. Although, it takes this, maybe knight c6. The game is becoming very complicated. I think if black is able to recapture this pawn without any damages, he is very much into the game. He's very much in the game. But if not, he's still down material. By the way, queen a5, knight b3, and rook f4, rook d4 looks winning for white. So I think you have to take. But after knight c6, again, it feels like you're losing material. So what is Baza gonna do here? He's down to his last minute. So already from the very first... Wait, queen a5, but knight b3, and rook d4, rook f4 looks winning for white. Will Ohanian find it? I mean, he blitzes out knight b3 right away. And yeah, I think he's got this one. Rook f4, it just looks winning for white. Rook d4 also looks good. There's still knight c4 here. On a knight c4, I mean, you take and white's up a full piece. So I think you're going to have to sack the queen. He goes knight c4, you take with the queen, take with the bishop, also looks very good. He takes with the queen. White's up a full piece here, so this game is looking great for Ohanian so far, and that would be a big first step to making it to the final. Rook c7, I mean, a full piece is really a lot, and you can go bishop c4 to simplify even further. So, yeah, I'm going to say that Ohanian, he's going to win this first game and take a first step to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Knight c5, bishop f5, e4, slowly but surely improving his position, bishop c4, white's up a piece, and he's controlling the entire position. So this should be a pretty straightforward win, and there we have it. First win for Ohanian is in the books. Alright, so let's see if we can pull up the bracket real quick to see what has happened in the other matches. So we see again that Ohanian takes the lead, 1-0. The first game between Pranesh and Harsh ended in a draw, and Darda and Aditya Mittal are still fighting it out in their game. Alright, so let's have a look at game number... wait, where is it? Let's see what's happening in game number 2 between Baza and Ohanian. So this game started off as an English opening. Black played this line with e5, knight f6, and bishop to c5. And this gets very sharp because Black goes for this very quick knight g4, attacking this pawn over here. And the idea is that in case white castles, there is the move g5, trapping this knight over here. White usually finds a way to sacrifice it and have some compensation because Black's king is still in the center. But it seems like Baza is already out of book, which is a little bit concerning, because this is a very, very theoretical line. If you don't know what you're doing here, white can easily turn out to be worse. So let's see what Baza is going to do. Again, he's taking his time, and Ohanian, it feels like he's definitely the better prepared player here in this match. d4 has been played. You can go bishop here, here, or here. All of those look fine. So let's see which one he is going to go for. Alright, so d4 on the board. Let's see where he's going to go. Bishop e6 makes a lot of sense. Bishop here. I guess the move d4 took Ohanian out of book. I think the main move was castles. But to me, after bishop e6, it looks pretty alright for Black. You can maybe go knight c6, attack that pawn a little bit more. Or again, there's still the move g5, because this knight is getting trapped. So let's see which one he is going to go for. Alright. d4 on the board. So Ohanian is thinking. He just dropped below 4 minutes. Baza now a little bit up on the clock. Let's see what he could be thinking about. The move bishop b7 looks very direct, attacking the knight right away. But white always has moves like f3 or h3, so it's really not as straightforward as it might look at first glance. Bishop b6 to me makes a lot of sense, keeping, again, the pressure on the pawn. Or bishop here, maybe you take over here. Okay, bishop b7 on the board. I guess now white's going to go either f3 or h3. f3 makes the most sense to me, because you also undermine the center in case black takes. You can either recapture with the knight or with the pawn. F3 on the board. I think taking here doesn't quite work out, because you take, and white's got a quick queen b3 coming, undermining this pawn over here. So takes. I don't know what baked potato style jokes are. Maybe anyone in the chat can enlighten me. But we have f3, I guess you take. Knight h6, that looks wrong to me. I mean, I think you take, and yes, you're going to take here, but is it going to be enough? I mean, I assume white should just take. Black's going to recapture. If you take, well, then you take, and you take with check. So maybe you should castle first. In case black takes, I don't know. It feels like black definitely has some sort of attack here with rook g8 coming quickly as well. But the king will be stuck in the center. So we have a very double-edged game here on our hands. I think Baza cannot really ask for more, given the fact that he's down in the match and he needs to win sooner or later. So let's see how he will try to do it. All right. So let's see what he is gonna play. All right. Okay, so you could take in queen d2, but if you take in queen d2, black's going to take here, and again, he takes with check, which is quite what you want to avoid, which is why the move castles makes sense. Baza again taking his time. He's dropping a little bit below on the clock. I felt like it... Okay, f takes c4 played right away, but now after bishop takes h4, I think you got to sacrifice the piece he takes, but now you have to move your king. He moves to d2. Wow. He's going for the... you know, that opening... I don't know if I okay, rook g1 played, attacking the queen. This is a family-friendly channel, so I will not say the opening, but it's an opening Hikaru likes to play. Bring the king up very early. Queen takes h2, you take over here. What is it? White's down a piece. Wait, does he have enough compensation? I would be shocked. I would be shocked if white has enough here. And it would be a big step for Ohanian if he would win this second game as well, taking a 2-0 lead, especially with the black pieces. Oh, knight g4, bishop f4, you take a knight e3 check. That's a very nice way to kill a lot of white's play. You make sure that white cannot take here, you make sure that white can never take the knight. That would be an excellent move. Is he going to find it? I think that would really nip white's initiative in the bud. So let's see if he's gonna go for it. Knight g4 makes a lot of sense. Ohanian. Okay, otherwise knight a6, but then bishop f4 is there, and white definitely gets some compensation. So let's see what he is going to play. All right, no worries, Judith. It all happens. Yeah, I guess the Armageddon. It was. I mean, it's always a bit of a chaos. Okay, so knight a6 on the board. You can take this pawn over here. There's also bishop f4 attacking the queen. Let's see which one Baza is going to go for. In either case, I think white definitely has some play here. The king is kind of stuck in the middle. You can't quite castle kingside, especially, of course, if white takes the pawn on g7. The knight on h6 is off, and black is lacking some coordination. That being said, though, there's no clear way to make it to the black king. And black can also maybe try to castle queenside very quickly, or move a rook to c8 and go after the white king. Bishop f4, there might be knight b4, but I guess... You just move the king back, or move the king to the middle. So queen h4 played. Can you, if you take over here now, there might definitely be the move knight b4. I think that would be a great way for Ohanian to simplify the position a little bit. And I guess Baza realizes that now. So maybe something like queen d2, defending the bishop once more. Rook h1 doesn't move, but then the queen moves back. He takes, okay, now knight b4, as has been pointing out by the chat, looks like a great way to simplify the position. In case it takes, you take the bishop on f4, you trade off some pieces, queen takes e4 is threatened, and that really takes the sting out of white's attack. So let's see what is going to happen here. But yeah, it looks like Baza is in big trouble. He's in big trouble. He's down a piece. I don't think it's quite enough. Also, I mean, Is White's king safer than Black's king? I don't think you can quite make the case. I think the king on c2 is pretty exposed as well. And hey, Black can just move out the bishop, go rook to c8, maybe slide the king over to f8, and it should just be a full extra piece for Black. Okay, goes queen to a8, a1. To me, bishop e6 makes a lot of sense, making sure that this is not a move, and preparing the move rook to c8. So let's see if Ohanian is gonna go for that. And yeah, I mean, it's looking great for him to take game 2 as well. And yeah, we saw in the match between Baza and Darda, like if you get 1 point behind, if you get 2 points behind, at some point it just becomes a little bit too much. And before you know it, the match is over. Knight g4, making a lot of sense in case of knight d5. He can now go knight e3, trading off a little bit more. This knight is joining the attack as well. So very, very tough position for Baza. Also, rook f1 is no longer a move, because it would just drop a rook due to knight to e3. So let's see what he's going to do. Maybe rook takes h7 makes a lot of sense. You take the pawn, the queen would still defend the e4 pawn over here, and you start making your way to the black king. So to me that looks like a good way to try to create some counterplay. But let's see if he is going to play it. Alright, Baza getting down to his last 50 seconds. Again, he's got to be a little bit careful. He takes the pawn on h7, I think a good move. Let's see what Ohanian is going to do now. Perhaps keep the rooks on the board to make sure that white can no longer infiltrate that easily. I think if black is able to consolidate here with bishop e6 and rook c8, or maybe even queenside castles, he's in very, very good shape to win the game. Okay, knight d5, knight d3 now. Trade of the knights, excellent choice. Maybe rook f1, attack that pawn once more. But again, this king c2 is pretty exposed, and black is so close to bringing in more pieces that I feel like white should be lost here. I don't see any attack whatsoever, and neither does Baza. He's down to his last 20 seconds. Ohanian still has a very, very comfortable 1 minute and 24 seconds on the clock. Rook d1 to defend the pawn. Maybe now bishop g4. Bring in another piece, trying to take this pawn over here, hitting the rook, which would undermine this pawn over here. And yeah, it looks like black is very close to winning. Bishop d7, I guess now you move the king back. That's what he does. Maybe just queenside castles. I think black still can. He hasn't moved the rook or the king. And there he goes. Queenside castles is on the board. White does have 2 pawns though for the bishop, but it shouldn't be enough. I mean, this one is hanging as well. So this should be a win for Ohanian. And 5 seconds left for Baza. What is he going to do? Queen h2, trying to set up some check over here, but you drop the e4 pawn. And I mean, with that, it feels like the compensation is really evaporating. Bishop c6 looks very solid, attacking this pawn over here, closing down the c-file. And I don't see Ohanian throwing this game. He's, again, a very, very experienced blitz player, and I think he's just going to take this one. Queen c2. He's keeping up the pace. He's doing all the things right. Queen e7, e4. Good move. If you take, there might be some tricks like check. So not over. Queen there, rook f4, keeping queens on the board. Maybe king b8, scoot your king into the corner. e5. That actually drops a pawn. Black can just take it. Or bishop d5. Queen a5 is an idea of rook c8. Look at that bishop on d5. It's controlling the entire board. He trades off the queens. Seems like a practical decision to simplify the position a little bit. We see a couple pre-moves by Baza, but it shouldn't make a difference. Ohanian now starts putting pressure on this pawn over here. Rook d5. Setting up some tricks. Baza still hanging on, but slowly but surely Ohanian should find a way to... Oh, bishop f5 to make progress. Bishop e4 maybe, and rook c2. Looks like a good plan. Oh, check, 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 and that's it. You win the d-pawn, and that's too much. I mean, the e-pawn is now weak. So Ohanian takes game 2 as well. He takes a 2-point lead in the match. Can Baza come back from this? All right. Anyway, so let's have a very, very quick look at the bracket. Alright, so we see that Ohanian takes a 2-0 lead in the match of the winners final. Pranesh and Harsh, they're still tied half and half. And Darda took the lead in his match against Aditya Mittal. Alright, so let's see if Baza can come back from this. Let's see if we have... any of the games so far. I think we'll just stick with the winners final between Ohanian and Baza. Game 3 should be getting underway any second now. we'll just have to wait for the game to pop up, and then we're gonna tune right in. In the meantime, we see that Harsh took the lead in his match against Pranesh. So let's see if Pranesh can come back from that. But that would be quite an upset, because Harsh is an FM playing against the GM Pranesh. So let's see if he can make it happen. All right, game number 3 still hasn't pulled up yet. Hopefully it will soon. But yeah, everything looking great so far for Ohanian. I think he's definitely the big favorite to qualify through the winner's bracket. And I would be surprised if he doesn't win this match. I mean, everything is looking great for him so far. Oh, and there we go. All right, you guys, and we are off. Now we move on to the 3+1 portion. Okay, so we see Ohanian, again, opening up with d4, Baza responding with the King's Indian defense, but this time Ohanian goes for the fianchetto. Now here white has two options. You can go d5, grab more space, or the more solid pawn takes e5. So let's see which one he is going to go for. I think given the match situation, d takes e5 makes a lot of sense, but he goes d5, knight b8, and e4, a5. And black is going to bring this knight back into the game with knight a6. He goes h3, make sure that black never has bishop g4 or knight g4, so now he goes bishop b3. So let's see what Baza is going to do here. Maybe knight d7 followed by a potential f5. Makes a lot of sense. So let's see what is going to happen. We see Baza again taking his time. He goes b6, very logical move. I think that's one thing he has been struggling with in this match, but to be frank, also in the match against Darda, where often he fell behind on the clock. Knight e1, a very typical maneuver, re-maneuvering the knight to d3, supporting the b4 break, but also the f4 break. Knight d3 on the board. Maybe now f5 for black. Knight c5 also looks fine. I think Baza really has all the reasons to be satisfied about the outcome of the opening. He needs a win here sooner or later, and he's got all the pieces on the board. So I think so far he can be pretty happy. All right, so let's see what is gonna happen right here. Okay, so a3 on the board. Baza again taking his time. I think he just needs to go with the flow a little more. He just needs to tell himself, like, hey, it's a blitz game. I cannot see everything till the end, so I just need to trust my instinct and just play the moves that look good. I mean, otherwise you're gonna fall behind on the clock and you're gonna make mistakes sooner or later. Or you're going to make counterintuitive decisions, which are often wrong. So let's see what he's going to do. But again, he's already down 30 seconds on the clock. Alright, so bishop d7, very solid move. In case of b4, black can take here, and take here, and take here. So that's not possible yet. And also, he might be preparing a4 to anchor in that knight on c5 so that white never has the move b4. A4 wasn't quite possible yet because it would always hang the pawn, but this bishop now controls that square even more. So let's see what white is going to do. White could take, and in case black takes with the pawn, this knight is a little bit misplaced. Black could take with a knight, but then there's b4. Although, if you go b4, black can take, go knight b3, take the queen, and then plant the knight on the d3 square. So that is why Ohanian goes b3. I think now he should break with f5. Just break the position open as quickly as possible, create some counterplay. You gotta get a win here with black. You gotta get on the scoreboard, and what is a better way to do that than creating counterplay on the queen side? So let's see if he's gonna do that. Queen c8 is also a move, but I guess you just go king h2 to defend everything. I mean, f5 is screaming to be played. He's gotta go for it, and there we have it, f5 on the board. But again, I don't like the fact that he took like, I don't know, like 20 seconds to play it. Anyway, so let's see what Ohanian is gonna do. He takes on f5, takes. E4 could potentially be an idea now, attacking the knight and attacking the knight on c3. Takes on c5. Knight takes, you could, okay, knight takes c5 over b4. I don't know, your queen gets over here. Maybe you still move the knight over here. So let's see what is going to happen. Also, knight d3 could be a move in that case. And black's got some nice pawn breaks here. Maybe f5, f4, or e4, opening up that bishop. So again, black's really got all the reasons to be satisfied about the outcome of the opening so far. Okay, so let's see what Ohanian is going to do. To be honest, I'm a little bit surprised that he switched away from the line he played earlier against the king. It really felt like everything went right. Okay, b4 on the board. I guess now take, and maybe knight d3, which would support the f4 break. You can also anchor in the knight with the move e4. But again, we see Baza taking his time. I mean, you can take, you can move the knight back. I mean, there's f4, but none of those options really look as convincing as pawn takes before. Like it just feels like the right move. So I think you just got to go for it, take everything, plan the knight on d3, create some counterplay with e4, followed by f4, and you know, just see how it goes. Just roll with the punches. Because now again, he's already down 40 seconds on the clock. And the time advantage is definitely going to play a role at some point. He takes him before. Now he's going to take an a1, I suppose. I mean, you don't want to move the knight back. So we see take, knight d3, queen b1, a good move attacking the knight and defending this. And e4, excellent move. Knight e2, good move by Ohanian, controlling the f4 break. And maybe he wants to go knight f4 himself. I think maybe black is still a little bit for choice, but it feels like Ohanian kind of has it under control now. Maybe queen c2 to defend this one over here. Go c5, breaking right away, bishop b5. And hey, if you move the rook, maybe knight d3, all of a sudden this is getting very, very sharp. So let's see what Ohanian is gonna do. Rook e3, rook e1 makes a lot of sense, but there might be knight d3. Alright, but I don't see another good way to defend the knight. Maybe the queen c2, but then there's always this, which could be annoying. So let's see what he is gonna play. Okay, queen c2 on the board, bishop d3. Okay, now either queen a2 or queen a1, you have to keep defending the knight. Let's see which one he is gonna go for. But you're a little bit tangled up. You would love to play the move knight f4. But if you play knight f4, you hang the rook. So you have to still go rook e1 first. And it just all takes time. So let's see what he is gonna do. Also, wait, this allows knight f3 check. And in case of takes, if you move the knight, you hang your rook over here. And if you go, well, if you go king h1, I don't know, that looks a little bit scary. Maybe you can somehow... Bishop c4, he could repeat the position once. You don't want to repeat twice. Again, he's down in the match. He needs to get a win sooner or later. So he takes on c5, recapture, queen takes d5. Okay, but now white can maybe just take the pawn on b6. Even up the material, rook d1, a good move getting out of the pin, bishop d3. But white can actually just take. White can take because the bishop is pinned. So let's see if he is going to do the queen c1. Maybe like queen c4 or something. I don't know. This is definitely Baza game to win. Will he do it? Queen b3 on the board. Knight d4, queen f7. take. It feels like he's just lost a move with queen b3 and queen here. Okay, bishop h6. Trying to trade off the bishops. Rook d... Oh, that's a... Wait, take? Wait, he... Knight e6. He blundered. He blundered a fork. That's a big throw by Baza. Now white is winning the exchange. And if Ohanian wins this game... He takes a big step towards the final, oh no wait, not the final, to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Then he will only need a draw. He will have a 3-point lead in the match. Can Ohanian close it out? He is bringing in the rook, bishop c4, closing on the rook, queen d4. This looks too tough. Rook a7, you go king up. Oh, that's a good move as well. Rook a6, taking the queen, queen d8, perhaps queen g5, going for counterplay with queen d4. Wait, how do you defend the knight? Knight there, queen there. Okay, queen f6, it's not over just yet. Rook b7, maybe going after the pawn. Both players down to their last 5 seconds. Rook b7 on the board. Knight d3, good move, taking the pawn on f2. Do you trade or... Okay, trades. Bishop c4 or b4, the b pawn starts running. Wait, how do you stop it? b3 or b3 on the board? Take the king of 1. King of 1, you're just in time to stop both of these pawns. White still... Oh, take the bishop. The pawns weren't promoting. You don't want to take rook b4. King d6 maybe. King d2. Wait, how do you defend the pawn? Take the pawn, and this should be a win for Ohanian. Rook b5, king d4. Check, and that's all she wrote. Ohanian, he wins game number 3 as well, and now Baza will have to win the next 3 games to force an Armageddon. But if Ohanian makes one more draw, he will qualify to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. So... let's see if Baza can do it. I mean, he's got a massive task ahead of him. I don't think he will. I think Ohanian is just going to make it to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. But as we speak, they're off right away. Another English opening. This one a little bit different. This line with e4. We see this sacrifice, so to speak, with knight takes c5 and d4. Black gives back the piece, knight, queen f3, and bishop a5. So white's pawn structure is damaged, but... the pawn on g7 is a little bit awkward to defend. And the pawn on e5 also gives white a lot of space in the center and on the king side. So that's really what white is playing for here. Let's see what Ohanian is going to do here. He could castle, but then you will have to reckon with the move bishop to h6. So let's see what is going to happen here. Ohanian here seems to be the first one to think. Again, a draw will qualify him to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. So can he do it? All right. So queen g3, taking the pawn. Okay, bishop h6. There is bishop takes c3. Takes, then you can take over here because the queen has been deflected. So I think castles is a good move. I kind of like Ohanian's position. I feel like all of these pawns are kind of weak. And if black gets the opportunity, maybe you can go d6 or queen e7, undermine this pawn. And yeah, white will have to show something right away. Because if he doesn't, you're just down. Your structure is just much, much worse. So let's see what he is going to do here. Bishop f4, defending the pawn on e5 once more. Maybe queen e7, also discouraging the move queenside castles, because then there's queen a3. And to me, it's not 100% obvious how white's going to develop, because bishop d3, you always run into moves like d6. And wait, actually, bishop d3 will hang this. He goes d6 right away, potentially sacrificing a pawn, but I don't think white's in very good shape to take it. Maybe now queenside castle, and there he goes. Now there's no queen a3, which would have been the case after queen to e7. So the game is becoming extremely sharp here. Let's see what Ohanian is gonna do. Yeah, he only needs to draw. But this game is extremely sharp. So let's see what is gonna happen. Ohanian taking his time. We see that Baza has really sped up here. He's up almost 40, or he's up 40 seconds on the clock, which will definitely play a factor in this game. Bishop h6, I believe, is definitely a threat now. Okay, goes queen e8. Now bishop h6 can be met by queen takes e5, offering the queen trade and defending this pawn over here. So let's see what Baza is going to do in this position. You go bishop d3, but then you hang this. You can take, but I don't know how convincing that is. You could prepare all of that with the move king b2, defending this pawn. Bishop d3 on the board. Alright, so is Ohanian going to take? He could. I mean, otherwise white maybe gets a chance to improve his position with someone like rook e1 and bishop to h6. So let's see what is going to happen. Alright, so Ohanian dropping below a minute. Definitely not an easy position. And he takes on c3. Alright, so now white could take on h7, but that just leads to equal material. So I don't necessarily think that's the way for Baza. He wants to keep the position as complicated as possible. Perhaps you could also consider taking here, but I don't know if that is quite the way to do it. But we'll see what he's going to come up with. I mean, either way, white's got some chances here. The position is complicated. He's up on the clock. He takes on h7, and now takes on c3. Ohanian takes on e5. f6 solidifies the position. To me, this looks pretty solid for black. Like, the king is pretty solid. I mean, black is controlling all of the light squares. White is a dark square bishop. So very often what you want to do is put your pawns on the color of your opponent's bishop to restrict it. And white's king on c1 looks pretty exposed. But for the moment, he is up a pawn. Bishop d6, attacking the rook. Maybe something like queen e3. So let's see what is going to happen. Okay, rook d4. Okay, wait, rook e2 takes the pawn. This looks good for Ohanian, but can he close it out? Again, he only needs a draw. A draw will get him in, so white is not going to play someone like queen g3. You want to keep queens on the board. But if you don't go queen g3, I mean, black's going to take here or go rook e2. Looks like a very, very tough position for white to play in a blitz game. Bishop g3, okay, rook e2 now. Start creating threats over here. I don't see what you're going to do. How do you stop this? I mean, maybe moving a rook back to d2, but I don't see how much it actually changes if black brings in more pieces. Rook d2 on the board. He trades queen e4. This looks like a great position if you only need a draw. Okay, king b2. In case of check, you can go here. But yeah, Bazakuza's king is getting taken for a hunt. Let's compare the king's safety. Black's king is sitting pretty safe over here on the h7, and White's king is wide open. Black has all the fun on these light squares, and Black is controlling all of the dark squares around his own king. So White's not really able to create any sort of attack. Rook d4, king up, rook c6 maybe? Threatening checkmate. Rook d6, you have to try to trade off the rooks. Otherwise you're just getting checkmate right away. But hey, if you're Ohanian in here, maybe you just take and go queen d3. Trade of the queens, go in an opposite color bishop endgame, and there's no way you're ever going to lose that. And there he goes, queen d3 is on the board. He's forcing the draw. You just put your bishop on e4, defend this, go a6, and that's it. Bishop c6, king up. It's a draw. I think Ohanian's just going to move on to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Bishop c6, I don't know, g5 or something. And there's nothing White can ever do here, g4. Yeah, just move back and forth. Or there. f5. Okay, I mean f4. It doesn't matter. It's all a draw. King h3. A little bit surprised by how he's playing this. I mean, it should be a pretty straightforward draw still. Bishop c6. I mean, you just sit. You just sit. This bishop is holding the entire queen side together. King h3. And go back. Is that already? No, it's not a threefold, but you just repeat the position. Bishop g3. Bishop h1. So this is going to be a draw very, very soon, which means that Ohanian will qualify to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Bishop c6, I think, is a threefold. And there we go. Ohanian, the first player to qualify. So let's have a very quick look at the bracket. We see, once again, that Ohanian wins his match 3.5 to half. Again, if you get to 3.5 points, you win the match. So he qualifies to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. So congratulations to him. Let's see what's happening in some of the other matches. So Harsh currently has a 2.5 to 1.5 lead over Pranesh. If he wins one more game, he moves on to the semifinals of the losers bracket. And Darda and Aditya are tied 1.5, 1.5. So let's see what is happening in that match. Aditya, as we can see, just leveled up the score with the... Oh! Darda lost on time. Darda lost on time. He's up a pawn in the queen in game. All the chance to play for a win, but he lost on time. What a heartbreaker. Let's see how he will recover. He is worse here in this game with the black pieces. But yeah. Okay, in the meantime. Okay, so let's just have a look at the match between Darda and Aditya. Again, it's 1.5. 1.5. Okay, queen e2 played by Aditya. Defending the bishop on a4. Maybe now you just take here and you can create a big center with e5 and d5. Looks pretty promising for Darda. So let's see if he's going to go for that. He takes. Alright. Okay, and d5, good move. Alright. Okay, so the 1+1 portion between Harsh and Pranesh has just started. Yeah, very, very tough loss for Daniel Darda. He flagged in a good position. Knight g5, attacking this one over here. Perhaps he had to play e5 first. Attack this bishop and then d5 so you can go e4 right after. But now, if you go e5, White can take here with check. So you have to address that first. If you go h6, White goes here and gets a bit of grip over the e5 square. So let's see what he's going to do. Knight f5 also makes sense. Trying to go queen f6. Yeah, he never needed bullet games. Yeah. Okay, knight f5 on the board. But yeah, Ohanian, we talked about him earlier. He's a very strong blitz player, but I think in bullet even stronger. I've seen him up there in the like with very high ratings on Chesscom. So he definitely can hold his own. Okay, knight f3 played, controlling the square. Maybe queen f6 now for Darda, trying to get that break in again. Bishop d7, rook ae1. Nice move by Aditya, controlling that square. Queen f6, and now you can go knight e5. Can get full control over the e5 square. I mean, you take, and it feels like White definitely has a small advantage. You can go c3, knight d4, and get full control over the light squares in the middle of the board. Goes bishop g5. Well, that is sacrificing a pawn. Is Darda gonna take it? I mean, rook b1, queen b3. Your queen is not getting trapped. He goes queen f7. Also looks all right. Maybe now your best move is just to go back. But if Darda can get a rook a8 and e5, I think he's doing pretty well. So White definitely needs to make sure that that does not happen. c3 on the board. All makes a lot of sense. Rook a8. Again, Darda once again in that move e5. But now bishop f4. controlling the e5 push. Queen h5 perhaps. Very double-edged position, but Darda, he is up almost 30 seconds on the clock. It feels a little bit undeserved, perhaps is the word you could use, that he's not up in the match, because he had a good position in game number 2. He definitely should not have lost that one, but hey, with the 1 second increment, anything can always happen. He goes h6, knight e5. Aditya getting some control now over the dark squares in the center. If you can get a knight d4 as well, I think he's definitely got an advantage. So what is Darda going to do to try to complicate? Maybe queen h5 and try to jump around with the knight, but I don't quite see it. Queen h5 on the board now. Knight d4 looks like a nice move to stabilize. Maybe h3 as well, and h3 on the board. Maybe knight h4 again. You gotta try something on this side of the board. Let's see what's going to happen. Both players are around 1 minute and change. Knight d4. Nice move by Aditya. He wants to trade off the knight, also blocking this bishop. And it feels like he's getting more and more control. In case black takes, I guess you take with the pawn, anchoring in the bishop on e5, and then you go rook e3 to g3, shifting your attention to the g7 pawn. So Darda is potentially in a dangerous spot. He lost that last game. He might be a little bit on tilt, and especially if he loses this one. I mean, he could be up 2.5 to half, and he would all of a sudden be down 2.5, 1.5. So let's see what's going to happen. He goes knight h4, going for counterplay on the king side. But it looks difficult to achieve. Maybe this gives Aditya an opportunity to go rook e3, rook e1, and rook g3, attacking this pawn over here. So let's see what he's going to do. Both players around a minute. A win here would be huge for either player, because they would take the lead in the match, and they would only need one more win to qualify to the semifinals of the losers bracket. Queen e2 played, offering a queen trade. Let's see if Darda's going to take it. I mean, the endgame definitely looks better for white. But what else are you going to do? I mean, if you go queen g5, you're probably going to get kicked back even further. So, tough decision here for Darda. He trades the queens. Okay, rook takes, maybe bishop d7, making sure that this pawn is defended. But definitely a very pleasant endgame here for Aditya. Let's see if he can convert this one. Knight f5. I think if black gets a move he would like to take to give white an isolated pawn on d4. So maybe white should take himself over here or take on f5. So let's see what is going to happen. We'll pull up the bracket after this game, Thomas. Okay, so knight takes d4 on the board, takes, and bishop d7, defending this pawn once more. Maybe a rook e3, followed by rook g3, putting a lot of pressure on this pawn on g7, which would actually be very awkward to defend. He goes rook c1, shifting his attention to the c-file. But I think now, can you just take rook c8? White is definitely a little bit better, but is it enough to win? I doubt it, to be honest. You can also play king of 7 first. Because if you trade right away, after the rook trade, white can go bishop to g6, and your king is a little bit stuck. So maybe king of 7, then trade everything, go rook c8. Goes a6, bishop g6. a6 to me looks like a weird move. Darda down to his last bit of time, take. He should hold this one, but it's not a given. Now let's see how Aditya, he expands on the king side. Bishop d8 maybe wants to go here. King f8 also move. I think Darda should be able to hold this, but white can trade here because black has quite a few pawns on the light squares. King e7, h4 is a move. I mean, if you take, you hang this. Darda definitely not out of the woods. h4, excellent move by Aditya. He wants to potentially create a pass pawn over here, and look at the bishops. White's bishops are very, very active, so Darda's got his work cut out for him. Can he save the draw? King f8, okay, g5. Maybe now you move the bishop, but it's looking passive. King f3, wait, what about this plan? And there he goes. Here, bishop e5 maybe. Threatening check here. King h5 would be checkmate. And if you take, you throw in a check. So Darda just in time, king f3, bishop c4, attacking the pawn. I feel like Darda should be able to hold this. Now this is a very nice maneuver. Moving the bishop to f5, and Darda should hold the draw here, bishop f5. Let's see what Aditya is going to do here. All of a sudden, his pawns are now fixed on the dark squares. G6 and h5 here. And then maybe you bring your bishop around. He takes, which doesn't quite look like the move. You can go g6 here. Bishop b4. Threatening check over here. Check. Wait. Free pawn. Take. Oh, bishop takes d5. Would equalize the... Okay, wait. Darda is up a pawn now. Can he win this one? Bishop f2. Looking very tricky. He's up a little bit of time. Bishop e1. Bishop c3, maybe he can now shift his attention to the queen side. Bishop e1. How How do you, bishop b1? How do you do e5, creating a passage in the center? d4, king e6. Darda now has all the chance in the world to take the lead in this match. Bishop b4. Bishop b4, you trade off the bishops, get the king up. This should be a win. Bishop b7. That should be it. Yep, Darda wins the second pawn, and with that, that should be all over. Bishop f4, g5, g4. Darda's going to win this game and take the lead in this match. King e4, push the pawns, and that's all she wrote. All right, so Darda takes a 2.5 to 1.5 lead in the match. Let's have a very, very quick look at the bracket. All right, you guys, so we see once again, Ohanian, he has already qualified. Harsh qualifies to the semifinals of the losers bracket, and now Darda takes a 1-point lead over Aditya Mittal. So let's see if Aditya can come back in one of the next games. He will have to try to do so. But yeah, we only have one more match on our hands, which is the match between Daniel Darda and Aditya Mittal. The next game should be starting very, very soon, and we are already off. Darda plays the Trompowsky attack. He takes pawn on c5, e6. By the way, all of this is in my course. He takes the pawn, bishop to e2, knight c6, castles, c4, d4 is the move here. He takes on c4, queen a4, also fine. Now white, he's not really claiming an advantage, but it's a little bit easier to play because black's king is a little bit exposed. This bishop is not easy to get out. So he's going to take here, bring out the knight, bring the rooks to the middle. So I think this is definitely a good system for blitz chess, whereas white's position is still very solid. So I guess knight c3, or maybe move a rook to d1. So let's see what is going to happen. Queen f6, rook to d1. All makes a lot of sense. G3. All right, so yeah, again, the real problem for black is getting this bishop into the game. He goes knight e5, but take. You can put the bishop on f3, queen h4 as well. Darda definitely has the advantage here. And again, if he wins this game, he moves on. It will be all over for Aditya Mittal. So takes, bishop f3. Nice move, putting some pressure on this one over here. I don't see how you're getting that bishop into the game. Maybe a nice rear maneuver is this queen h4. Queen h4 looks like an excellent move, trying to attack the black king over here. And there we have it on the board. Queen e5. Maybe just double up the rooks. Okay, is he trying to repeat here? I think he should try to fight for the win. He could make a draw, get one step closer, but I think he should try to close out the match right here. It feels like he's got a good position, a position he should be quite comfortable with, so why not just go for it? I mean, queen h6, bishop e5, double up the rooks, to me makes a lot of sense, so try to go rook to d8. So let's see what he's gonna do. Okay, queen h4, e4, nice move, trying to break up the pawn structure. In case black takes, you take the knight, and the knight starts jumping around. I mean, again, you have to try to get that bishop into the game at some point. He takes on c3, but it looks like a very committal decision. Now the dark squares around the black king will always be weak. He takes, but this actually gives the black bishop the e6 square. So I think, oh wait, rook d4 looks like a nice move, threatening this and this. Bishop d5, also good move. Let's see what Aditya is going to do here. Queen g7, excellent move. Rook fe1. Rook f1, Darda bring all his pieces into the game. Take. White is definitely better here. Can he win this? f4 maybe? Take. He goes rook d6, trying to do this. Again, maybe f4. But yeah, great position for Darda. He's up in the match. He's got a risk-free. Okay, wait, but now you can. He could have taken with the rook. Okay, queen e4, and pick up the pawn. Goes queen a5. Okay, check. King g8, rook d6 maybe. Looking like a super tough position for a blitz game. Queen e4 on the board, h6, check. Rook f8, rook d7, check. Queen e4, but this looks like a great endgame. You take an a7, this pawn is weak. And again, if Darda wins this game, it will be all over. Rook e7 or rook b7. Yeah, rook there, rook c4, rook e6. Rook e6, wait, to me this looks winning. You're up 2 pawns. Rook e6, yeah. Attacking the pawn, summon e3, king of 1, or a3, king of 1. And you have 3 extra pawns on the king side. h4, push, g4, push, g5 though, wait, king g2, no, but king g3 is coming. f3, king h4. Okay, check, check. Yeah, h6. This should be all she wrote. Okay, but now king up. Ah, don't flag. Check, check. Or rook b5. King of 4. Just make sure there's no more checks. King of 4, h6. And yeah, that's it. Darda is going to win this game. And he's going to move on to the semifinal of the losers bracket. h7 even. Yep. Okay, and there we go. Darda wins his game as well. Okay, so let's have a very, very quick look at the bracket. We now see that Daniel Darda, he moves on to the semifinals in which he is going to be playing Pranesh. And the winner of that match will face Baza, who still has a chance to make it into the Junior Speed Chess Championship. All right, so I assume there might be a bit of a break now before the semifinals start of the losers bracket. Let me double check that real quick. Should be a little break before. Yeah. Okay, guys. Yeah, we are going to be taking a break, but don't go anywhere. We will be right back with the semifinals of the losers bracket. Who will make it to the Junior Speed Chess Championship? Ohanian has already qualified. Is it going to be Harsh? Is it going to be Daniel Darda or Baza? Find out after the break. And welcome everyone to the Junior Speed Chess Championship Qualifier. We are now in the semifinals of the losers bracket, and here we have the match between Daniel Darda and Harsh. So this game started off as a King's Indian defense, well actually like a modern, but it transposed back into a King's Indian, with white playing the move e3 first, but later the pawn went to d5 and e4 anyway. So I guess black kind of has won the tempo. We see black closing down the queen side with the move c5, and Darda trying to open it up with a4 and bishop a3. But I feel like this bishop is always going to be stuck staring at this pawn, and in the meantime, black can try to open up the queen side, the king side with the move f5. The thing though is that if you play, if you play f5, you have to reckon with the move knight g5 to e6. So perhaps it makes sense to play h6 first. He goes f5 right away. Darda did not go knight g5. He went a5, knight f6. And to be honest, I don't quite see how white is really breaking through here. But knight g5, good move by Darda, trying to jump into the e6 square, pawn takes e4. Let's see what Darda is gonna do here. Darda, by the way, quite significantly outrating his opponent by 330 points. So he's a big, big favorite here to win. Takes stakes, knight f5, nice move. Jumping the knight at d4, maybe bishop d4, so you can trade off the bishops. So let's see what is gonna happen here. Bishop g4 on the board, good move. Now in case of knight d4, I guess you take. Maybe you'll trade over here once or twice and then get your rook to b7. Definitely feels like Darda still has a slight advantage because the bishop on g7 is always a little bit passive. Like that's one of the main problems black often has in the King's Indian. So let's see how Harsh will try to complicate here. He's got his work cut out for him here, so let's see. I mean, he can also maybe go bishop h6, activate the bishop that way. But it feels like Darda's got quite a pleasant advantage. His knight on e4 is pretty active. It's always got pressure on the knight on the pawn on d6. And black's pieces are a little bit passive. Also, he doesn't really have any counterplay on the king side. So let's see what he is going to do here. Knight d4 on the board. Okay, expect Darda to take. Black will have to recapture the rook. If you take the queen, you hang this pawn. Okay, takes the rook, maybe queen d3 again, or take once, take twice, and then rook b7, or bring this bishop back into the game. But I like queen d3, really solidifying everything. You defend the knight on e4 once more, the pawn on c4. Queen is a little bit more active. Maybe you bring this bishop back around, and again, what is black gonna do here? Maybe move like queen d7, but it doesn't do much. If Darda is able to consolidate here, I think you will have great chances to take the lead in this match. So let's see what Harsh is going to do here. Queen e7 played. All right, so let's see what is going to happen. Take, bishop c1, because again, the bishop is kind of stuck looking at this pawn. If you go bishop, okay, rook b6, nice move, taking this. Maybe you defend with one of these moves, but then again, like I think, if you can get the bishop around, if you can get the other rook in, white has a very, very dominant position. So let's see what he is going to do. Rook d8, okay, bishop c1, or rook fb1. You no longer have to worry about anything happening on the king side, since this rook has moved away. And again, let's compare the two. I mean, this knight on d4 is pretty active, but it's not attacking anything, whereas white's knight on e4 is putting a lot of pressure on that pawn on d6. And also, white's bishop on c1, or sorry, on a3, currently is a little bit stuck, but you can bring it back into the game with bishop to c1, then maybe bishop g5 or bishop to e3, and you can choose to trade off that knight on d4. So Darda definitely having a big positional advantage here, and let's see if he can bring it home. I think Darda had a bit of a false start, but now it seems like he's found his footing, and I still think he should be the favorite to make it to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Not through the winner's bracket, but through the loser's bracket. Alright, so bishop c1 on the board, h6, good move, stopping bishop to g5. I guess now something like bishop e3, maybe h3. Slowly but surely improve the position and really ask black what he's going to do. And hey, if you want to put more pressure on the pawn on d6, maybe you can do so by rook a6, rook b6. And black can't really do much. Okay, rook a7 on the board. Let's see what Darda is going to do here. Maybe move like queen h3, attacking this pawn, which is actually quite awkward to defend. If you go king h7, we have bishop g5 again, h3. Very understandable move, making some luft for the king. So probably the move I would play, king h2 maybe, or rook b2, queen b1, trying to infiltrate over here. And again, Darda has a very dominant position. I would be surprised if he does not win this game. He's really got all the cards here. So let's see if if he can. All right. And yeah, just to reiterate, you guys, the winner of this match will play Baza for a spot in the Junior Speed Chess Championship as well. So that'd be interesting. Like, Darda could have a rematch with Baza. He goes bishop e3, putting pressure on the knight. The knight, I guess, might jump back. That's what he does. Again, I think king h2 makes a lot of sense. Making sure your king can never get back, can get checked on the back rank. And I still like the idea of going for tripling on the b file, so you enable the move rook to b7. Or, hey, you can go rook c6, rook b6 to put more pressure over here. Goes g3. Nothing wrong with that move, but it makes the king side a little bit softer. You know, still, I don't see anything bad happening, but it felt like the king on h2 would be sitting perfectly safe. Now you never know, right? I guess still with king g2 to come, the king will sit perfectly safe. But let's see if Harsh will find a way to create a counterplay somehow. Okay. So rook a8 on the board. Maybe he wants to go rook a3, trade off a pair of rooks, but I don't think Darda should be too concerned about that. h4. Ah, nice move. Now he wants to go h5, and if you take, then there's all sorts of tactics on this diagonal. So let's see how Harsh is going to address that. I mean, this knight sacrifice is never going to work. He goes rook to a3, rook b3. I thought he was going to move this one. Okay, so let's say takes. But now you give him the pressure on the d6 pawn. And again, maybe black can move this rook over here. And at some point you can consider some sacrifices. So let's see what black is going to do. Darda, in the meantime, has stepped up the pace. Whereas Harsh is falling behind on the clock. Darda now up 20 seconds. h5, again, is definitely a threat that Harsh needs to watch out for, because it would open up this diagonal. Going h5 yourself looks pretty ugly, because it opens up the g5 square for the knight or the bishop. So maybe something like rook f8, defending this knight once more. He gives a check. Okay, king up. Can he sack? I doubt it, because there's knight g3, carving this. There's also rook b1. But, you know, maybe he will go for it. After king h2, I think you definitely can sack. Darda could go rook b1, but that will also take out some of his winning chances. King g2 played. Looks like an excellent move. Again, I don't see how this is ever going to work. So let's see what Harsh is going to do here. It still looks pretty good for Darda, who's holding a lot of trumps. His bishop is definitely better than black's bishop. He's opening up on this side of the board. The d6 pawn is weak, that he can always attack. So let's see what Harsh is going to play. Darda won his earlier match, but not against Harsh. He won his match against, I want to say, Pranesh. Let me check real quick. Darda won his match. No, he won against Aditya. He won against another very strong Indian junior. Okay, rook e1, bishop d2. I guess just bishop d2. Attack the rook, and if the rook moves, then you go h5 and you start opening up the king side. That would be great for Daniel Darda. Let's see if he is going to... Yeah, bishop d2 on the board. I mean, rook d1 maybe, but it doesn't change much. You still go h5, and there will be stuff happening on this diagonal. So, tough position for Harsh. Is now down to his last 19 seconds. Rook d1 on the board, h5. h5, open up the king side. I mean, you got to go something like queen f7, queen c2. Okay, rook a1, only square for the rook. Now h5. You definitely want to... Okay, queen b2, fine move, attacking the rook. He wants to go here. Rook a7 maybe? Rook a7 to make sure that there's not this. But again, it fell... Oh, rook b7. Wait, rook b7. Rook b7, that's game over. You attack the queen if the queen moves knight f6. The king steps back, and there should be some sort of checkmate. Or at the very least, you win a piece. Rook b7. Rook b7, there's knight f6 as well. I'm sure Darda sees it. He's just deciding between this and rook b7. Rook b7 looks crushing. Okay, I'm not a big fan of that one, because now black can sack the queen. And I think the game goes on, because black has some sort of fortress. h5, h5 though. h5. h5, you want to... but now black can go h5 himself, and that's what he does. Bishop g5 to f6 maybe. And that's where he goes. Rook a4, maybe trying to attack this pawn over here. e4, creating some kind of... g4 here, wait, g4 and h5. Looks extremely strong. Will Darda find it? By the way, he made that move with 0.1 seconds? What? Rook a2, wait. e3 is now an idea. Check. Wait, this is not over. Wait, he takes the pawn, but now he's hanging this pawn over here. And knight e4 goes back, bishop f6, king h6, and you e4, e4, e4. This should be winning. Check, king up, king here. This should be winning. King h6. You give a check, and Darda wins the first game. Wow. All right, so let's see if Harsh will manage to come back in game number 2. All right, which should be starting very, very soon. And there we are, we're off. Okay, so e4 by Harsh, Darda playing it solid. He's like, okay, I'm up in the match, I don't mind draws. Okay, so we see 45. Let's see if he's going to go for a Berlin defense. Maybe normally he wouldn't do this against someone who's 300 points low rated, but hey, he's up 1 point in the match. If White wants to force a draw, that is completely fine with him, because that will take him one step closer to qualifying. So knight e6 here. Knight c5 is the move. You block with the bishop, and White generally drops their bishop back to f1. So now here you can take an e5, knight f5 is the move as well. Let's see which one Darda is going to go for. Takes castles in here. There's knight c3 or d4. Bishop f6, rook e8. It's a very solid move, c3. But I'm a little bit surprised by this opening choice by Harsh. This is very symmetrical, a little bit dry, and really not the type of position you would think he needs, given the fact that he's down in the match. Okay, so knight e8. Bishop f4. Now you put a pawn in the center with d5. But bishop f5, and black really has nothing to worry about here. And black is absolutely fine. So again, I'm really surprised by this opening choice by Harsh. I mean, he needs to come back in a match. I mean, draws are not enough. He needs to win games. Maybe bishop g5, or okay, he wants to bring in the rook with rook e8. Also looks fine. Queen d1, okay, he wants to go over here. a5, I like the move by Darda. He wants to gain some more space on this side of the board. a4. If you say a4, if you say a5, you gotta say a4. Okay, rook e1. Okay, and now h6. Darda, I feel like he's just passing the move. Looks pretty solid. Maybe g5 at some point. And yeah, the position should be approximately even. Knight f1 played, he wants to go over here. Maybe bishop f5, attacking the queen. He just strengthens the d5 pawn with c6, knight e5. Bishop f5 looks very solid, attacking the queen. We go knight c4. And I don't expect Darda to get in a lot of trouble here with black. I mean, he's just playing a very solid game. If this game ends in a draw, that's also fine by him. He will take his chances again with white pieces. But again, I'm a little bit surprised by Harsh, because he needs to get points on the board. And yeah. Alright, so queen e2 on the board. Maybe now knight c4 looks like a great move, putting some pressure on this pawn over here. And now we see the strength of pushing this pawn up to a4. If white goes b3 here, well, you get the open file for your rook, and the pawn on b3 is a little bit soft. So that is why Darda did that earlier. Okay, knight e5 on the board. Maybe you take, followed by queen b6. And how do you defend a pawn on b2 all of a sudden? I don't see it. So this would be an opportunity for Darda to win a pawn. Is he gonna go for it? He goes knight d6. He just plays it solid. But I think he shouldn't be. He should perhaps be a little bit more aggressive and just try to win this game as well. But let's see what Harsh is gonna do here. The ball's really in his court. He is the one who's behind in the match, so he needs to find a way to level up the score. Okay, knight c4. At least, first of all, I don't think Darda would mind a repetition. And second of all, it would give him perhaps another opportunity to go for the tactic that he missed earlier. Bishop g5. Now maybe he will take, queen takes or pawn takes. And I guess the trade should be in black's favor, because this bishop on f4 is pretty active. Also, with the queen out of the way, it would be easier to bring the rook to e8. And even though the position is pretty symmetrical, Darda, he's also up almost a minute on the clock. So he's doing pretty well in this game. And I don't think he's really got anything to worry about. I think Harsh, in his next white game, he will definitely have to play a little bit more aggressive. I mean, just anything. Play some sort of gambit. I don't know. You have to try to come back in the match. Like, draws are not gonna cut it. Alright, but in the meantime, he's thinking Darda gets a bigger time advantage. And let's see what he's going to do. He could also take the knight to make sure that it never jumps to c4 again. But it feels like, if anything, black should be slightly for choice with their strong bishop pair. So let's see what he ends up deciding to do. In the meantime, he's getting 1.5 minutes behind on the clock. So yeah, tough decision here for Harsh. He finally decides to take on d6. Darda recaptures and h4, kicking the bishop back. I guess you go bishop f6. You don't quite want to go bishop d8 because that allows this, but bishop f6 still holds everything together. And you also have ideas of going for a potential c5 break, breaking up the position for the bishops. Queen d2. All right, to me b6 makes a lot of sense. But let's see what Darda has in mind. g6 as well. You don't hang this pawn because you take the knight. a3. It's a little bit committal. White can now go b4. And it gets a little bit more grip on the king side. Rook d8. Okay, let's see what he is gonna do. Knight c5. Okay, b6 would hang a fork. So I guess you have to defend with someone like queen c7 or queen b8. All of those moves are fine. Let's see which one Darda is gonna decide on. He goes queen c7. I think he definitely wants to go for this plan of b6 and c5 to open up the center for his bishops. On the flip side though, if you go c5, the pawn on d5 will become a little bit weak. Okay, bishop f1. Now I think is the best time to go b6 and c5 because white is no longer putting pressure on that pawn over there. So he goes b6, and I'm sure he's going to go c5 right after white goes knight to d3. Harsh is thinking knight a6 looks a little bit clumsy. Bishop d3. Tricky move. Okay, so you take. You could take, and black is doing absolutely fine. You can also go bishop c8, and the knight will have to jump back to the awkward a4 square. So Darda has lots of good options here. Let's see which one he is gonna go for. Also, he's up more than a minute on the clock. Okay, bishop c8. Let's see where he's going to go with the knight. I mean, knight a6 looks extremely clumsy. And black has the option to take and go b5. And all of a sudden, the bishop could get trapped. So I think you have to go knight a4. You can also make a move like queen e3. All of a sudden, threatening a checkmate here. But I think black can just go king f8. So expect him to go knight a4. But I don't see how the knight is coming back into the game. Alright, so let's see what Darda is going to do here. c5 is a move. Also bishop d7. Preparing that break a little bit, perhaps. Also makes a lot of sense. Bishop b6 played, very solid. Closing down the e-file, making sure that white never has that idea to checkmate on e8. And I think if given the opportunity, at some point black would definitely like to go c5 to open up the position for his bishops. And Harsh getting down to 1 minute and 15 seconds. This is getting a little bit dangerous. He doesn't have a clear-cut plan. He's way down on the clock. I think, again, it's looking great for Darda to extend his lead in the match. But, again, he's outrating his opponent quite significantly. So, I would be surprised if he doesn't win this one. Now c5 looks great, opening up the position for the bishops. Let's see. White is attacking this one over here. Is he going to protect it? He could with someone like bishop e7, and that's what he does. Keeping the idea of c5 on tap. Okay, bishop b2, bishop c1. Tricky idea. White wants to go queen c2, threatening a checkmate over here, and if you go g6, he could sack. So let's see how Darda's going to deal with it. You could go c5, queen c2, and just ignore it with someone like bishop f6. Because check, king f8, it's not 100% clear what white is going to do there. But, I mean, there's ideas like bishop f5 gets a little bit tricky. So let's see what Darda's going to do. He's got 2 minutes to figure something out. But yeah, it's a little bit annoying for black that you don't have a way to stop white from getting the queen h7. I mean, then there's also like bishop f5. So let's see what he's going to do. Goes bishop f6 back, but now, hey, he's hanging a pawn. He's just losing 2 tempi. So, I don't know, a little bit surprised by what Darda's doing here. Now I can just take the pawn. Let's see if Harsh will do so. Can take the pawn, maybe then c5. Yeah, it takes the pawn, but then, yeah, I mean, Darda could have just played c5 on the last move. Alright, yeah, last couple of moves have not been great for Darda. White's now up a pawn, the knight can also swing back into the game. I think you have to go c5 sooner or later. If you give white the opportunity to consolidate with like queen c1, maybe then threaten queen c2 again, or like knight b2 to d3, white's definitely for choice. So rook e8 played by Darda, queen c1, c5. Okay, c5, you gotta break at some point. You gotta break open the position, complicated, especially since white is low on time. Okay, but now white can take. Now white can take and go like queen e3, fully restrict the c5 break, and slowly but surely start improving the position. He goes bishop to f5. Make sure that bishop cannot go back to d7. Again, c5. I think Darda has to, and there it is. c5 is finally on the board. Maybe queen e3, and now black can also give up their bishop for the knight on a3. Double white's pawns, reach opposite color bishops, and Darda should be able to draw that quite comfortably, I would think. Yeah, the same move for white to avoid the queen e3. Bishop takes a4, you recapture, and then maybe just g6. This should end in a draw. Queen e8, by the way, is checkmate. We see g6. Can you take? I guess not. Bishop g7, bishop g4, h5 maybe. Just take the bishop, make sure this is not hanging. cd possible as well, h5, bishop 3. I think now you just take and like queen c4, and sooner or later this should all end in a draw. But it's not over just yet. Queen c4, maybe you can give it check, and here, let's see how harsh we'll try to create some tricks. It's not 100% clear, like queen c4, queen e8, king g7, queen e7, and if you take white takes here, and it's all of a sudden threatening this pawn, queen c6, clever move, he's attacking this pawn, controlling the h-square, queen b3, queen here, or bishop takes d4, and queen f6 also looks extremely safe. If white wants to keep the game going, they have to go queen c2, but then queen e5 hangs this, hangs this. I think you have to go queen okay, queen f3, but now just straight, and it's a draw. Take, king g7, or bishop c3. I think it's fine to put the bishop here, restricting that break, and the game ends in a draw. So, reasonable result for Darda. He keeps his 1-point lead in the match and gets a black game out of the way. Alright, so game number 3 should be starting very, very soon. We're just going to have to wait for it to get started. So just wait a second, you guys. It should pop up any second now. But yeah, that would be a nice comeback for Darda, losing the first game in the winner's bracket, and then making his way back in the loser's bracket, which is really the great thing about double elimination, that you always have a chance to come back. And it would also account for unlucky pairings, right? You could play the potential winner in the first round, but then you can still come back. Okay, there's a 2-minute break. Okay. So let's see. Yes, Darda is outrating his opponent quite significantly. As we see here, he is rated 2630 and his opponent is rated 2300, so he's got a 330-point advantage. So he's definitely the big favorite to make it. Yeah, making his way back to the same player. Yep. But now Darda's warmed up, and yeah, I feel like it's just the first game that was unfortunate for him. But I think he should be a big favorite. I mean, he's outrating his opponent quite significantly, so I'll be surprised if he doesn't make it. But you know, in Blitz, anything can always happen. Maybe Baza is more of a Blitz specialist. So let's see. Exactly, yeah, yep. No, they're all of those juniors are super strong, and they're stacking up points, yeah, very quickly when they play all of these opens. All right, so in the meantime, yeah, okay, we'll just have to, okay, so we'll just have to wait for the next round to start. In the meantime, yeah, feel free to ask any questions in the chat. Just wanted to remind you guys, my Chessable course is on sale till tomorrow for a little bit less than 24 hours. So if you want to get it, feel free to check it out. Now would be a good time. All right, but let's see what is going to happen here. We'll just have to wait for this game to start. I mean, I try to tailor my course to levels of all players. All right, and we are off. Okay, so Harsh, we see again the move bishop g5 by Darda going for the Trompovsky. We saw earlier. Okay, we see the move e6, e4 here by Darda. Now black can go h6, and white is forced to give the bishop pair. Bishop e7, but this gives white the opportunity to go e5. We'll probably see trade, or this looks a little bit passive to me. Knight f3. Darda's got a nice center here. He can potentially go for an attack if black castles on that side of the board. But the good thing for Harsh is that the position is somewhat double-edged. He's keeping a lot of pieces on the board. And the spot on d5 can also turn into a bit of a weakness. Knight d7. People in the chat are asking, when do the next generation reach the top 10? I think someone like Noderbeck, he could already reach the top 10 this year or in the next year. It just depends on how some tournaments go, how many tournaments he's able to play. There's not too many classical tournaments these days. So I think it would just depend on that, maybe a little bit of luck. But I think he's definitely capable of doing it. Gukesh maybe as well this year or in the next year. But yeah, very strong junior players. In the meantime, Darda is sacrificing a pawn, but I think he should be able to get it back. Black is a little bit passive, and the pawns in the center are a little bit vulnerable. So let's see what is going to happen. Okay, so d5. All right. Okay, so let's see what Harsh is gonna do. I mean, if you castle, you allow white to take and double black spawns. You can also take over here, but then white recaptures. Take, and white can also always go bishop b5 to get this this pawn back over here. Darda now having quite a significant time advantage. So let's see what Harsh is. Yes, and also Ali Reza, he's still a junior. Yep. And for Ali Reza, it will all depend on I guess like how much time he's still dedicating to chess, or how much he's dedicating to fashion. Okay, we see him with castles on the board. Perhaps now is a good time to take it. Maybe queen h3, attack this, and attack this pawn over here. Let's see which one he's gonna go for. Darda up a minute on the clock. Let's see what he's gonna play. All right, you can also take, and queen e4, threatening a checkmate. Black can always block with the move knight f5. So Darda's got great compensation, but I don't see a direct way to get the pawn back right away. Knight f5 only move, you have to block this and this. If you let white take on e6, he's got a crushing position. Rook 81, Darda increasing the pressure. I think queen e7 is a good move here, getting out of the pin, and there we have it on the board. Knight e4, okay, maybe h6, making sure that the knight cannot jump here. Black's up a pawn here, but there's no clear way to untangle. Maybe something like knight f6, trade off that active knight on e4. But hey, a pawn is a pawn, as they always say. h6 on the board. Let's see what Darda's going to do. Bishop c2, opening of the d-file again. I like knight f6. Trading off this knight over here, maybe trading off a pair of rooks, and freeing his position just a little bit. So see knight d6 on the board. Okay, do you want to trade knights or just keep them on the board? I think both are fine. Queen g4 also makes a lot of sense in case it takes, you take, hit threaten here, and if here you take the pawn on e5. But again, Darda's got that big time advantage. I think that's really what he's banking on in this game. He's just playing quickly, and he knows like, hey, at some point, Harsh is going to drop down to his final seconds, and that's when I will get chances. Now he can take here, but Black can still take it after check king f7. Looks completely fine for Black, actually. And, okay, takes with the pawn, also looks fine. But now the king will always be with queen h3. Tricky move. You cannot go queen g7, because you hang this. You can go king g7, but then, hey, rook d3. So I think Darda is doing a great job complicating this game. How is Harsh going to defend? This looks tough with 40 seconds on the clock. Darda having attacking chances here and the time advantage. So I think, practically speaking, I would choose to be white here. It definitely looks easier to play. In the meantime, Harsh gets down to his last 30 seconds. Let's see what he is going to go for. All right, 20 seconds. He's got to move here. He's got to move. What is he going to play? King g7. e4. Okay, he's hanging the pawn on h6. Darda now can even out the material and have an initiative, which is really, you know, what more can you ask for in a blitz game? f5, okay, f3 now maybe. If you can get one of the rooks in, it's just going to be over. Queen g6, if you block with the queen, this, okay, f3, f3, check. Don't make the draw, don't make the draw. I mean, come on, he's got all the chance in the world here. And a draw, I mean, he will still have to win many more games. So I think he should go for it with something like f3. Rook e1, okay, now queen f6, or rook f6, good move. Queen f6, queen g7. Okay, queen trade, or all of a sudden black might get the initiative on the queen side. Darda is still way up on the clock. He's got 1 minute and 20 seconds and 10 seconds for like f3. He had the opportunity to f3, maybe f3 now, and try to put pressure on the opponent e6. Anyone's game here, maybe e5 for black, make sure the pawn is never hanging, maybe a4, but black can go here and here. Rook e2, knight b7, nice re-maneuver, rook d2 perhaps. It feels like the worst is behind Harsh. Okay, rook f1, he wants to go f3, bishop c2, keep the bishop on the board. He wants to go f3, and somehow find his way to the black king, maybe with a potential g4. f3 now is begging to be played, because you get a lot of pressure on that pawn on f5. Is Darda going to go for it? I think he won. There it is, f3 on the board, take. King e6, b4 maybe? Kicking that knight away, bishop e3. All look like great ideas for Darda to increase the pressure, while Harsh only has 7 seconds on the clock. Knight a6 looks a little bit off, check. Or a3, defend the pawn. What is he going to go for here? Check. King f6 or king d6. King d6 hangs the pawn. By the way, rook d3, king f6 on the board. a3, just defend and keep all the tension. g4 is an idea. This looks tough. This looks tough with only 6 seconds on the clock. Goes rook f2. f4, take e4. Closing down the file. e4, rook e3, take. By the way, there's no check over here because you take, and after knight b4, rook e4, you take this, and also there's ideas of rook e3. So Darda's gonna move. 40 seconds, rook e3, excellent move. King f5, okay, rook f2 maybe, and round up the pawn on d4. Darda's now up upon a3, also excellent move, defending this one. And Harsh 6 seconds. Bishop c2, but now he's allowing this check over here. Take, not easy. a3, good move, defending everything. c5, he can take, but this is not easy. Is he going to go for it? Rook e4 and king f3. Oh, he finds it. Rook e4 for excellent move and king f3. He's going to win another pawn. Do you take over here? Well, then you hang this. Okay, Darda's going to take. And will rook b2. It looks... No, Darda's going to win this game. The knight is trapped. The knight is trapped. If you go to a6, white takes here and forks the king and the knight. So Darda takes a 2.5 to half point lead in this match. He needs one more win to make it to the final of the losers bracket against Baza. All right, so let's see. Game number 3 is underway. Harsh opens up with the move b3, g6 by Darda, and knight f6. You can trade here, but black is not too worried. You get the bishop pair, bishop g7, g3. Harsh going for a double fianchetto, d6 and e5. Looks like a very logical approach, closing down that bishop on b2. But I guess Harsh is just happy to keep all the pieces on the board. So let's see, d5 by Darda. Nice central approach. I think generally you want to delay the straight so the knight does not have access to the c6 square just yet. So let's see, d4. Okay, maybe take. e4 possible as well, closing down this bishop. This bishop is closed down as well. So I like Darda's position so far. He's got a strong center. Rook c1. Question is how you're going to develop this knight. Maybe knight a6, trying to hop in here. So let's see what is going to happen. He goes to h5, trying to go for play on the king side. So let's see how Harsh is going to deal with that. He goes to h3. So in case of h4, you can go g4. a6, Darda wants to gain some space on this side of the board with the move b5, or just make sure the white cannot take a knight b5. Bishop f5 on the board. Overall, I really like black's position. He's got more space, but you know, white is not doing too bad. He takes. But now, black can always go knight c6, which looks very comfortable to develop. So I think this was perhaps a little bit too hasty. Okay, bishop a3, maybe knight f8, e6 to g5. Looks like a very nice plan. Let's see, and Darda goes for it, knight f8 on the board. All right. Yeah, looking tough. Rook c2, knight e6, or knight h7. Again, this position really plays itself here. Knight is coming to g5, attacking this. Knight g5, just sack. I mean, take, and there he goes, knight g5. I think you have to take. If you don't take, you're just facing an attack for free, pretty much. And if you take, I mean, there's knight d6. Wait, things are becoming pretty complicated all of a sudden. Queen d7, you go here, knight c5. Okay, wait, no, but now knight f3 or bishop takes. There should be something for Darda. And if you take, can you go bishop takes g2, take, you cannot take because of check and mate. So knight f4 played, okay, knight f3 maybe, or take. Should be something in a position for Darda, but I can't quite see it right away. Let's see what he is gonna come up with. In the meantime, all right, let's see what is gonna happen. All right, take over here, maybe knight f3, or just move the rook. I like Darda's position, but I don't see an immediate way to break through. So let's see what he's gonna do. He goes rook d8, putting some pressure on the knight. Bishop f8 is an idea now, attacking the knight. Time is approximately even. Both players are around 2 minutes. Maybe rook c1. So you have the idea of rook to c7. You still have queen g4. You have queen g4. I like the move h4 by Darda. He wants to open up on the king side. Queen e2. Maybe knight h5 or knight f3. So again, you can auto if you go knight f3, then the f7 pawn will start hanging. So let's see what he's going to do. I like, actually, wait. Knight h5. Wait, knight h5 if you take queen h3. That's a very nice idea, and you also want to take over here. So why do I have to do h3? Not sure about that one, because I wanted to keep the h3 square for the queen. And also you can still soften up the king side. Bishop f8 played, attacking the knight. Rook c7, he wants to go queen g4. But definitely, I mean, especially in the blitz game, I think this is a great position for black. So let's see what Harsh is going to do here. Darda having all sorts of attacking ideas. Knight on d6 on attack. I mean, take, this is hanging, this is hanging. Looks tough. Looks very, very tough for white, with limited time on the clock. So let's see what he's going to do. And I think Darda's got a great position here. It really plays for itself. And again, if he wins this game, he will move on to the final of the loser's bracket. Knight takes g4 is on the board. Maybe you have to go for something like this. I don't know if it works though, but if you defend, you let black take here, and it feels like the entire position falls apart. Okay, wait, knight takes f2. There's even knight f3, which would threaten checkmate. Although, but knight f3 hangs this. Okay, king g1 only move. King h2 is checkmate at 1. King g1 only move. King g1 only move. It's the only move, and there we have it. Knight g4. Okay, wait. Can you take? Can you take? If you take and take, then rook takes g6 off. I think he's got to go for it, even if he's not sure. I mean, there's check, king of 1. Check, super complicated figure. He takes on d5. Okay, knight f3 check, king of 1 only move. Maybe you take. What exactly is going on here? Wait, can Darda just push his pawn? Like h2 and knight f2, something like that. There should be a way to win here for black. I don't quite see it, but I mean, those two knights on f3 and g4 are so strong that there has to be something. So let's see what he is going to come up with. I mean, h2 also makes sense. King up. He takes over here. Bishop takes d6. King g7 or h2 right away. There's got to be something for Darda. So let's see what is going to happen. But again, yeah, if he wins this game, it's going to be all over, and he moves on to the final. And Harsh is down to his last 24 seconds. Okay, so takes h2 looks very tempting. Oh, I see a great idea. King g2, king g7 maybe. Because you threaten to queen, rook h8, knight f2. Okay, but now rook c1. Rook c1, knight e7 check first here. Rook c1, maybe you just queen though. Maybe you just queen, pick up a rook, and that should be winning. I don't see a move. I don't see a move for white. What is he going to do? Rook c1 only move, but then I think you just queen, collect the rook, and the bishop is still hanging. And there we have the queen on the board. Take. If you move the bishop, you can also go rook h8 and rook h2. So I think Darda's just going to win this game. Bishop c5, rook h8. Rook h8, and that's going to be checkmate. Rook h2 is coming check and mate. And there we have it. All right, great game by Daniel Darda. He wins this match very, very convincingly with 3.5 to have and moves on to the finals of the losers bracket against Kazakutsko. So let's have a very quick look at the bracket. Here again, we see that Daniel Darda has won his match 3.5 to have, and he will play Baza, who lost the final of the winners bracket. All right, so with all that being said and done, you guys, we are going to be taking a very, very short break, but don't go anywhere. You definitely do not want to miss who's going to make it to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Let me know in the chat. Is it going to be Daniel Darda or is it going to be Baza? We will find out right after the break. And welcome back everyone to the Junior Speed Chess Championship Qualifier. I'm your host Benjamin Bach, and we are now in the final of the losers bracket. The winner of this match will qualify to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. So this game is a rematch of the semifinals of the winners bracket that we had earlier between Daniel Darda and Baza. Baza won that match pretty convincingly with 3.5 to have, but in the first game he looks to be in trouble. Daniel is up a pawn. Black's king is a little bit exposed, and does Black have enough play? I don't quite think so. Maybe Daniel can just go for something like queenside castles. Queen g2, build up an attack over here. And also look at the clock. Daniel is up 2.5 minutes on the clock. So can he take this one? That'd be a great step towards qualification. We saw in the semifinals of the winners bracket, the match we had earlier, how he also got a good position, had an advantage on the clock, but let it slip a little bit. And I feel like that first game might have upset him a little bit. It definitely didn't set the right tone for the match, but winning this game will definitely set the right tone. So let's see if he can pull it off. Alright, so in the meantime, he's thinking he's still up 2 minutes on the clock. Definitely lots of good options here. To me, queenside castles looks very tempting. I guess Black will go here. You don't, I mean, the knight on the 4 stops the knight from jumping into d3. And again, I'd be looking at something like queen g2, maybe bring the other rook in. And it feels like white's up a pawn and has a good position. He goes knight e6, In case Black takes and takes, then you have queen f5. I guess he just wanted to get rid of this bishop. He's also taking the queen and this bishop over here, but Black also has the additional option to go queen to h4. But if you go queen h4, there's queen f2. And then you have ideas of this discovery. So let's see what Baza is gonna come up with. Again, he's down to 1 minute and 15 seconds on the clock in a very, very tricky position. So I feel like he really has to try to get his time management under control, because otherwise he's gonna pay the price for it. I mean, if you end up in a complicated position, your opponent still has like 2 or 3 minutes and you're down to your last seconds, you're gonna make mistakes and your opponent will punish you for that. So let's see what he's gonna do here. But yeah, so far it looks like a great start for Darda. Alright, he takes on e6. Alright, so again, you cannot take because of queen f5. I guess you go knight c5 or knight f8. Both look very possible. I mean, knight f6 possible as well, but you know, you're blocking your bishop, you're not getting back the pawn on e6 anytime soon. So to me, knight c5 makes a lot of sense. Also, you make sure that white does not have this check on d3, and there we have it. I mean, but he's down his last 30 seconds. I think here Darda's just going to go for queenside castles. Queen f7 looks a little bit premature. And now again, like if you take out the rook, you allow queen f5, followed by a rook g1. Looks crushing. I don't think you can allow that. I mean, taking with a knight also allows a check. Or knight d5, what about that? Followed by bishop to c3. Also, the knight can swing in and help the attack. Queen d3 check played. I guess king h8. You don't want to get into a pin. Rook dg1. Let's see how Daniel will try to increase the pressure over here. Alright, so rook dg1 makes a lot of sense. Let's see what he's going to go for. e4 on the board. Putting some pressure over here. Queen f6, maybe rook f1. Attacking the queen. And where is it going to go? If you go here, you allow knight d5. But again, look at the clock. Daniel still has 3 minutes on the clock. Knight c5, very nice in-between move, attacking the queen with check. So Daniel will have to move it, I guess, to e2. And that way he will keep all of the tension on Black's king. Queen e6, nice move. Maybe now's the time to move the rook over to the g file, attack this bishop. Also, rook g6 is there. So it will be very tough for Baza to keep this position together with only 10 seconds on the clock. Can he take? Can he take a knight takes c3? Oh wait, maybe take? He goes rook g8, but now rook g6. Looks extremely scary for Black. Let's see if Darda's going to go over. He goes queen g2. Going for the triple stack on the g file. And 3 seconds. 3 seconds. What a second. Goes queen f6. Wait, rook g6? Is there no win for white? It feels like there's got to be something. Knight d5 as well. But Baza down to his last 2 seconds. Queen f8. Hey, rook f1. Followed by this. Looks crushing. Again, he's got 3 seconds. White is a crushing attack. Queen c2. Rook e6. He still finds a move. Addressing the threat of bishop takes h6. Excellent find. Alright, now let's see what Darda's going to do. Maybe drop the rook back. You want to try to keep the tension on the board as much as possible when your opponent has only 2 seconds on the clock. So let's see how he's going to do that. Can also bring in the knight, but king c2 perhaps might have been a little bit inaccurate. He might have overlooked that move. Rook to e6. Rook g4 played. Queen f7. Maybe knight d5, followed by bishop c3. Knight d5 on the board, c6. Knight f4. Bishop c3. Take. Rook takes g7. Looks crushing, but is it? It should be. Wait, here, take. And bishop g7. That's crushing. Bishop c3. I'm sure Darda will find it. Also, this is no longer a check, and you can take here. Knight g6. Oh, wait. Rook f2. Wait. I feel like Darda is gambling a little bit too much. He's just speculating on Bazakutska's time. But Bazakutska is managing to find only moves with only a couple seconds on the clock. Darda's still way up on the clock, but hey, it's dwindling. He's now down to 1 minute and 30 seconds. So let's see what he's going to do. This one is becoming pretty complicated, but again, 2 seconds for Bazakutska. That's not a lot of time. Rook f1 on the board, attacking the queen. Oh, knight f8. Knight f8. Take with the bishop, you take here. And if you take with the rook, you take here. This looks like a knockout punch. Take. And how's he going to defend that bishop? I think just take. Just take it, and that's game over. Just take. There's no checks. Darda taking his time. And he should game 1 over here. Rook h8, checkmate, or queen g7. Alright, so great first win for Daniel Darda. With the white pieces, he takes a 1-0 lead in this match. And we are already off in game number 2. Let's see how Bazakutsa will try to come back with the white pieces. Daniel playing the symmetrical English. Knight f6 is a move here, g6 as well, e6. Lots of options for black. Now white can go into the Maroxy accelerated dragon, which is sometimes considered to be a little bit better for white, because white is controlling all of these breaks. Daniel going for this line with queen to b6. Now knight c3. You can take on c3 and double white pawns, and that's what Darda goes for. Knight f6 here is the move. Alright, so d6 played. Let's see. So here we have an interesting imbalance. White has the bishop pair, but black has the better pawn structure because of these double pawns, which is why white goes c5, trying to get rid of this double pawn. So let's see what Darda is going to do here. Also, these dark squares over here are a little bit weak, because you no longer have that bishop. So let's see what Darda's going to do. I mean, knight f6 makes sense. I don't think you quite want to trade, which is what he does though. But now white can take, and either you have to take with the knight or with the king, which is not ideal, because you either move your knight to a passive square, or your king will be stuck in the center. So let's see what Bazakutsa is going to do here. Again, one thing that I've talked about a lot throughout this match is the fact that I feel like he's been a little bit too slow. He should just trust his instinct a little bit more, because often he ended up playing logical moves anyway, just after like another 20 or 30 seconds. He goes for queenside castles. Now black cannot defend the pawn with the move b6, because that allows bishop b5 check, which is why bishop d7 was played. Now white can take, and I guess he wants to go bishop to c6. But, you know, white, again, these pawns over here are a little bit weak, but you have the bishop pair, and black's pieces are a little bit passive. f3, excellent move. So let's see what Darda is going to do. Maybe knight f6, bring the knight out into the game. Looks pretty logical. Let's see if he will go for it. Knight f6 on the board. Maybe just, you know, bishop e2, rook d2, rook d1, bishop h6, also a nice move. Going for something like this, rook to c8. Maybe just king b2, make sure that this pawn is never hanging. Or again, bishop e2. I think Darda should go for something like knight d7 to trade this knight off on c5, because now you don't quite want to go knight e6, because white can take, and you will have these ugly double pawns on the e-file. So I think that will be a good step towards freeing up his pieces, trade of the knights, then your knight can move out, and black should be doing pretty fine. And here we see knight d7 on the board. Alright, so let's see what is going to happen here. Knight b3 on the board. Alright, maybe not knight b6, trying to go knight a4. Makes a lot of sense. Or knight e6. I don't know if you have to be too worried about knight a5. I don't think so, but maybe you do. I mean, if white takes and you take with the rook, there will be this, and take with the pawn also weakens your structure. So knight b6, nice move by Darda. He wants to go knight to a4 check, checking the king, and putting pressure on the c3 pawn. And combined with that rook, that looks difficult for white to deal with. So let's see what he's going to do. He could go knight c5, but you're behind in the match, so you don't quite want to repeat the moves. Also, I mean, Darda could just play something like f6, followed by knight f7. It looks like a very nice way to regroup his pieces. Then I can swing into e5 or d6. So let's see what Bazakutsa is going to do here. Goes knight a5. Okay, knight a4 is an idea. Or just bishop d7, moving the bishop back. I mean, you could let white take. It's not the end of the world. And then recapture with the knight. But then white has 2 bishops against 2 knights. So let's see what Darda is going to decide on. All right, bishop to d7. Knight a4 is definitely an idea here. I don't think Darda is necessarily playing for a draw. I think he's just playing it solid. It's still too early to play for, you know, one draw after another. I mean, there's still many more games to go, and generally that's a very risky strategy. I think it will be a much better strategy for him to just keep playing for the win and just decide this match as quickly as possible. Right? Like that's how you get more points on the board. If you play for a draw, you know, especially in blitz, you might make passive decisions, and that's generally a good strategy to avoid. All right, so let's see what is gonna happen. All right, so knight a4 check. The king has to move. I guess king a1 or king b1, and you could take the pawn on c3. Let's see if he's gonna go for that, or knight e6, b6. Again, I like how Darda is taking more and more control of this game. He's a little bit up on the clock, and he's got a good position, it looks like. Okay, maybe now b6, kick the knight back, followed by something like knight e6. Knight e6 right away. You could perhaps take here. It looks a little bit risky, but black only has limited material to attack with. So let's see what Baza is going to do. I mean, if you let black play b6, it feels like black has an advantage for free, where you don't have an extra pawn or anything like that. So let's see what he's going to do. But again, Baza is falling 40 seconds behind on the clock. So let's see what is going to happen. All right. So let's see what he is gonna come up with. But yeah, I think he should take the pawn on b7. Taking the pawn on a7 looks too risky. He goes bishop b5. Okay, maybe b6, kicking the knight, and or f6. Oh wait, there's a tactic. Rook takes d7 and bishop b5. That's something black has to be careful of. Like all of a sudden, the king could be kind of stuck over here. Like let's say you go b6, you let white take. There's a check. And all of a sudden, white is crushing. Actually, knight b7 was checkmate. So that is something Daniel will have to be very, very careful of. Rook takes d7 is a major, major threat. Maybe you have to go knight b6. So that in case white takes, you can recapture with the knight. This is live, everyone. This is live. f6 is also possible. So in case white takes, you can take the bishop on e5. Knight c5 played. Also a very reasonable move. Again, making sure that in case white takes, you can recapture with the knight. And Darda keeps his time advantage. He's still up 30 seconds on the clock. Also, bishop a4 could be an idea, pinning the knight on b3. So let's see what is going to happen. f6, kicking the bishop, good move. Maybe king f7, connecting the rooks. I'm starting to like Darda's position more and more. His king is certainly safer than white's king over here. His pawn structure is better. So let's see how he's going to continue from here. He's taking his time. Again, maybe something like king f7, move the bishop in, bring in the other rook into the game, and black should be doing pretty fine. But lots of plans to choose from, which can sometimes be a disadvantage. Because you're like, okay, I can play this move, I can play that move, and that's when you spend up a lot of time. If you only have one clear move, you just make that move, and you keep your time on the clock. All right, so oh, wait, now, hey, what about this? Rook takes d7, take a b5. I think Baza should definitely go for that. You get excellent compensation with the 2 bishops. Rook d1 is coming. To me, it's not clear how black is getting out of that pin. This is a golden opportunity for Baza to complicate the position and get great chances with white. Let's see if he's going to go for it. I mean, taking with the king is not a possibility. I mean, this was already in the position, and now, hey, especially since you take the pawn on b5, you got to go for it. I'm sure he sees it, and there he goes. Rook takes d7 is on the board. All right, again, you cannot take with the king, because if you take with the king, there's check, and you pretty much get checkmated. You have to block with one of the knights. It's not a possibility. You have to take with the knight. But then white takes here. Rook d1 is coming, looking very, very tricky, and I don't see how you entangle. I don't see how you entangle at all. So great shot by Baza. Can he level up the score here in game number 2? All right, so takes is on the board. All right, and yeah, now white's next move is pretty obvious. It's going to be rook d1. What is black going to do? You cannot go king f7. King d8 doesn't do anything. Knight c7. Maybe just bishop a4. Aha, maybe Darda has to do this. Knight a8 to b6. Attack the bishop and strengthen the knight on d7. But even in that position, you're a little bit stuck. So let's see how Kazakutsa or Bazakutsa is going to continue from here. Bishop a4 on the board. a6. Okay, knight b5. Nice find by Darda. If you can go knight b5, he's putting pressure here. He's getting out of the pin. And then black starts taking more control over the game. c4. Okay, maybe you go knight b5 anyway. The pawn is pinned. The pawn is pinned. Maybe you go king d3. But I don't know. Maybe something like knight b6. It feels like Darda is crawling out here. Can he take control of this game again? Maybe knight a8 to b6 again. All right, so let's see what he's going to do. All right, c4. Darda getting down to his last 25 seconds. Starting to become very tricky. I mean, knight b5 is definitely still a possibility. Or knight a8, going knight to b6, attacking the bishop, strengthening the knight, and attacking this pawn on c4 once more. So let's see what Bazakutsa is going to do here. But it feels like Darda is getting more control over this game. If white doesn't come up with the right continuation here, it feels like black is crawling out. And then the material advantage of the exchange should definitely kick in. So let's see what he's going to do here. I mean, it's not clear at all. This bishop is really lacking squares, and you really don't want to trade it for the knight on d7. And he's down to his last 20 seconds. What is he going to do? He's got to move here. He's got to move. Maybe knight a5 and bishop c6, but then knight takes c4, 12 seconds. You got to move. In case of c5, there's still knight b6, because the pawn is pinned. 6 seconds. He's got to move. He's got to move. 4, 5, knight a5 on the board, knight b6. Knight b6, attack the bishop and attack this pawn over here. Knight b6 on the board. Take maybe, or bishop c6, bishop c6 take here. Wait, does he have bishop b7? Rook c5, and Darda goes for it. Rook c5. Rook c5. Okay, Darda also down to his last 12 seconds. What is he going to do? Rook c5, knight b3. You want to keep pieces on the board. Maybe rook b5, but okay, it's very tricky now. Both players super low on the clock. Where is Darda going to go with his rook? He goes rook b5, bishop c6, rook b6. Attacking the bishop, bishop a4. Bishop a4 on the board, rook b4. Are they going to go for a repetition? Repetition would be fine for Darda. He's up in the match. Knight a3 is possible. I think they're just going to repeat. I mean, Darda is up in the match. The position is very complicated, so we cannot blame him here for taking the repetition. I mean, with every draw, he comes closer to qualification. So right now, Darda holds a 1.5 to half point lead. And with that being said, we now move on into the 3+1 portion. So these were the 5+1 games. Bishop d5, very good question. In case of bishop d5, there would have been, there would have been knight e3 check, and that gets rid of the bishop pair. Yep, exactly. All right. Exactly. So let's see what's going to happen in game number 3. And we are off. Darda switches up with the move e4, and we have a Caro-Kann on our hands with the move knight f6 on move 4. Traditionally, the main move has always used to be bishop f5, but this system has become very popular where black goes for a quick h5 in case of queen to c2. We will probably... Oh, okay, knight e7, queen c2 maybe, which is often played to attack this pawn. But we see h3 by Darda. Black moves the knight f8, and white is up half a pawn, you can argue, because white has a 4 versus 3 majority on the queen side, and black has a 3.5 versus 3 majority on the king side. However, this extra pawn on the king side is often actually quite useful. And make sure that black has a very nice shield around his king. You can maybe push up this pawn with like f5, followed by queen h4. Also this plan I like, with bishop c7 and queen e6 coming. And how is white going to deal with that? I mean, if you go knight g3, there's all sorts of tactics like rook takes e3. G3 hangs this, so I definitely like Bazakutsa's position here out of the opening. Let's see what Darda is going to do. Yeah, I think the draw was a fair result out of that game. It was very, very double-edged. C5, stopping queen to d6, but you're opening up the d5 square, bishop e6. Good move by Bazakutsa. And again, I still like that idea of f5, f4. Maybe you're bringing your king, your queen, you put the bishop on d5. And white's pieces are a little bit like also queen d7. Hey, this sacrifice is definitely something to reckon with. And how do you stop it? You cannot go king h2. I mean, f4 is very ugly. You leave this bishop hanging. Actually, I think you just do it anyway. Or then especially you do it because the bishop is hanging. So I think Baza has got a great opening here. And let's see. Okay, so knight g3 played. Maybe knight f4, or maybe bring the knight around this way, f5, f4. Again, it's definitely still an idea as well. So let's see what is going to happen here in this game. But yeah, definitely the nerves kicking in. I'm a little bit surprised that Darda switched it up with the move 1e4, because he's really a 1d4 player, to my knowledge. And we see him here not being 100% sure what to do against a Caro-Kann. So again, I think he should have just stuck to his guns and played 1 to d4. Is this the... Yes, this is the classical variation of the Caro-Kann. White played knight c3 on move 3, and black took and played this line knight to f6. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's called the Tartakower. In the meantime, Baza is going for his first real thing of the game, and he goes for pawn to f5. He wants to go f4 and fork the bishop on e3 and the knight on g3. Knight h5 played, but f4 now? Wait, if the bishop steps back, can you sacrifice on h3? I mean, just go for it. Just go for it. Just sack. This knight on h5 is completely off. f3 is a threat. You have so many pieces in the attack. The bishop potentially, the knight is a working take. Wait, so let's have a look. So take. No, wait. So take. White takes an e8. You take an h3. You take bishop f1. Hard to evaluate. You have to play queen h4. You can no longer go knight h4 there. Again, but the knight is so off. f3 is a threat, and if you go queen f3, there is rook to e1. So let's see if Baza is gonna go for it. Just sack and think later, exactly, as people were pointing out in the chat. I mean, you gotta come back in this match. You gotta come back in this match. You can also shuffle around. I think with bishop d5, black also has an excellent position, but it would give white the opportunity to take on g6 and then take on f4. So is Baza gonna go for it or not? His time is dwindling down. He has 1 minute and 10 seconds on the clock, while Darda still has 1 minute and 50 seconds. I feel like this is a situation where you just gotta go with your gut. You decide like, okay, I go for it or I don't. Like if you think like you cannot calculate it all the way through with like 1 minute on the clock, so just go for it or don't. Like sack or play something else. He goes f3. Oh, but this allows the move bishop to h6 by Darda. If you take knight f6 with the fork and the king and the rook, and what do you do about it? If you take on g2, white takes here, and knight f6 is still a major threat. Does Darda see it? If he finds it, there'll be a huge find. If you take on f3, there's bishop... Is there bishop g4? Not sure, because there's still bishop on back. He goes bishop h6! What a find! Wow, you cannot take it. Knight f6 with check, and you win the queen. Brilliant move, pointed out by Chesscom. And now what is Baza gonna do here? He definitely missed this one. This is a Lafong. This is a very strong version of the Lafong. Yeah, you cannot take this one. I don't know, what do you do? 30 seconds for Baza. His time is ticking. And if he loses this game, he would be on the edge of elimination. He's down to 20 seconds. He's got to move here. He's got to move. He can still sack an f3, but now Darda can just take here. Bishop g4, maybe something like this in between. He takes on d4. Okay, bishop takes g7 now. What does he want to do? Queen h4 maybe, but queen takes f3 holds everything together. Darda has a great position here. He's up 1 minute and 18. He's up more than a minute on the clock. Bishop takes g7 on the board, attacking the queen. Where's the queen going to go? I guess here. He takes on c5. Queen takes f3. Queen takes f3, and Darda has an attack and a good position. And the material is equal. So is he going to go for it? Is he going to go for it? Queen takes f3, and it's on the board. Looking super scary for Baza. If you move this bishop, knight f6 would be a major threat. He goes knight h4. Oh, but what about this? Queen f6, take bishop h6. And how do you stop checkmate? You cannot go queen here. Bishop e5 gets taken. Knight f5 gets taken. I think that would be a hammer blow if Darda finds that. Queen f6, take, and bishop h6. You might have to sack your queen, but that's not the way to go. Is Darda going to find it, though? Is Darda going to find it? He's got 45 seconds to figure it out. If he finds it, it would be game over. And that would put him in... Queen e2, that's not the move. Queen g5, threatening checkmate over here. Maybe f4, taking the queen and defending this pawn over here. It's anyone's game now, but Baza again, down to his last 5 seconds. f4, maybe you just take. Queen c5, check, king h2. Not loving that move. He's stepping into this diagonal. Bishop d7, maybe bishop e5. Bishop e5 and open up this knight f6 threat. That looks like a great move. And bishop e5 on the board. Takes with half a second. Knight f6. Knight f6 followed by queen h5 looks crushing. Knight f6 on the board. 1 second. King f8. Queen h5 maybe. Queen h5. Darda's got 26 seconds. This knight's under attack. Is he maybe queen d2 in here? Lots of good options for Daniel Darda. Which one is he going to go for? He must realize that this is a great opportunity to extend his lead. Maybe just take the pawn. Rook 81. Lots of good options. 12 seconds though. Queen e3 offering the queen trade. Feels like there was more. Rook d8 maybe take, but okay, rook d2, the position becomes complicated. I think Darda wants to control rook d1, but that hangs this pawn over here. Knight g6, bishop c2. Nice move trying to consolidate, take. Knight f4, bishop e3 maybe. Getting some trades in king e7, a3, king g3. Just get your king off the board. h4, h5, kick the knight back. Yeah, nice move by Darda. h5. Bishop e4, nice move. If you can get this knight off the board, bishop f5. I love that move. That knight is never coming back into the game without getting itself traded off. g4, fantastic move. If takes, rook b3 or rook d3. Darda's got full control now. He is going to win this game. I know it. h5 and g5. Take, king takes, creating the past h-pawn. And this is going to be a win for Daniel Darda. Take. And you cannot stop this pawn. h6, there goes rook g2, rook g7, and h7. And there we go. Darda wins game number 3 as well and takes a 2.5 point lead in this match. If he wins one more game, he will qualify to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. So let's see if Baza can come back in the last 3 games. Let's take a breather. Oh no, we're already off for game number 4. Another symmetrical English. Baza again goes for this line with d4 and b6. Darda going for a setup with bishop to b7. f3, e4 is a possibility here to build a Maroczy bind. Let's see what's going to happen. Bishop g5 on the board. Maybe e6 and go bishop b7 makes a lot of sense. Or bishop b4. Let's see what Baza is going to come up with. But I like this opening for Darda. I mean, it's difficult for white to develop because if you go e3 and bishop b2, you always hang this one over here. He goes knight db5. He wants to go knight d6, get control over the dark squares and get black's dark squared bishop. But I think you can just go d6. You might have to move bishop 4, but then e5. White is getting pushed around. Bishop 4, e5, and then a6. Looks okay for black. You weaken some of these squares, but the knight is going to have to go back to the passive a3 square. So let's see, f5 by Darda. But, you know, Baza, excuse me, cannot be too unhappy about the outcome of the opening. He's got a double-edged position. He's got a better pawn structure, knight e3 perhaps, attacking this pawn over here. He's got good control over the d5 square. In exchange for that, Darda has got the bishop pair and these pawns in the center. But I think objectively, white should be a little bit better. Knight ed5, knight f5, attacking this pawn over here. I guess you play something like knight c5 or knight f6, and there we have it. Maybe something like queen e3 followed by queenside castles, putting pressure on this pawn over here. g3 is of course not possible, that hangs the rook. You could develop with e3 though, queen c2. He's definitely aiming for queenside castle. So let's see how Darda is gonna complete his development. He goes rook c8, attacking this pawn over here. I think now would be a good time for white to play e3, open up the bishop and defend this pawn on c4. So let's see what he is gonna play. But in my book, this is a must-win game for Baza. Even a draw doesn't seem like a good result. Darda would just get half a step closer to qualifying to the Junior Speed Chess Championship, and he has to get a win on the board sooner or later. e4, also fine move. Black can still take. You take with the knight or with the pawn. Rook g8, interesting move, keeping the pressure on this pawn over here so he cannot easily develop. Maybe something like f3. So let's see what Baza is going to do. He goes f3, defending the pawn once more. So next up he can move out his bishop. Maybe castle as well, strengthening the pawn on e7, on e4 once more. And Darda's got a very, very passive position here. This bishop on e7 is not doing anything. The bishop on b7 is stuck looking at this pawn over here. And this knight on f5 is an absolute beast. Knight d5 as suggested by the chat. I mean, then black can take and you have to recapture the pawn. And this pawn is no longer weak. So I think you want to keep the tension on the d6 pawn. He goes knight d7, sacrificing this pawn. Why could you just take it? You can also play something like g3, trying to open up the h-file for your rook. Lots of good options for Baza. Again, he has to win this game to come back in the match. And I think he's got a good chance to do it. He goes g3. Again, take looks disastrous. He goes b5, trying to open up the queen side. But can't white just take? Get his bishop into the game. I think Darda is just trying to complicate matters, but probably he knows himself that this is bound to fail. So we see takes. Again, looking great so far for Baza in a must-win game for him. All right, so let's see what is gonna happen. Okay, so knight c5 on the board. I mean, you can take and maybe queen e2. All right, so take, take. Queen d2 looks good, attacking this pawn. I mean, so go knight e6. Looks tough, looks extremely tough for Darda. I think knight e6 is pretty much forced. You cannot quite let white take here. But if we look at the position, white is up a pawn, and he has got the much, much better position. So, very, very tough game here for Darda so far. So let's see how Baza will try to close this one out. I mean, it's far from over. I mean, maybe at some point you have to take a tick here. But then you go into the endgame. You can also maybe start this pawn before going into the endgame. Or rook g1, trying to get control over the g-file. But I think black will always do something like this. Okay, knight takes d6 played. Let's see, will Darda take or keep pieces on the board with something like rook b8? Both players around 1 minute and 15 seconds. The score is 2.5, 1.5 for Daniel Darda. So one more win and he will qualify to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Okay, Baza going for some trades here. I don't know, I think if you're Darda, you're not too unhappy about that. His pieces free up a little bit. You can take here, but again, black gets some play. The bishop gets... Oh wait, actually, if you take, there might be this. So Darda's pieces start getting active here. He's got the open g-file for the rook, the knight can potentially start jumping around. The bishop will sit very nice on the e5 square. So it's not over at all. And again, look at the clock. Look at the clock. All of a sudden, wait, rook g2, activate the rook. All of a sudden, Darda is up half a minute on the clock. Knight g5 would be a nasty move, attacking this pawn over here. And how do you defend it? Rook f1 hangs this pawn over here. Now Darda's got pressure here, he's got pressure here. I think he's got great chances all of a sudden to save this one, which would be a big, big disappointment for Baza. This is really his game to win. And I think also psychologically, it would be a tough blow for him if he doesn't. But he's down to his last 22 seconds. He's got to move. He's got to move. H4, rook f2. Rook f2, how do you defend this one? I mean, rook h3, there's check. Looks tough. Rook f2 looks like a great move to me. There's also moves like knight e4 you can even consider. Because if white, although if you take twice, takes king of1, doesn't seem too effective. But I like the move rook f2. Just putting pressure on this pawn over here. Knight c5 played. Okay, he wants to go knight a4, but there's always bishop e3. Rook d1. I think Darda missed an opportunity there to go rook to f2. Now, I mean, still rook f2. How do you defend? How do you defend the pawn on f3? So let's see what is going to happen. He takes on h4. Now, if you take here, take bishop g5. Aha, knight rook d5. Taking the bishop, and here 17 seconds for Baza. I don't like the fact that Darda gave up the pressure on the b2 pawn. I mean, I guess you still trade and go here, rook d5, maybe knight takes c4. I don't know. Not a huge fan. I mean, he definitely still has play, but Baza is crawling out here. So let's see what Darda's going to do. And in the meantime, the time is evening up. Darda also down to his last 20 seconds. He's got to move. What is he going to... He goes rook g3, attacking this pawn over here, keeping pieces on the board. Makes sense. 12 seconds for Baza. What's he going to do? Bishop d5? Okay, wait, is there bishop g5? Oh, wait, he's attacking the rook. Rook b8. Knight g2. Okay, bishop f6. Bishop f6. Putting pressure on this pawn again. Knight e1 looks passive. Knight a4 now. Wait, knight a4. Bishop e3. Rook g1. Great move. Pinning the knight. Rook c1. Oh, bishop g5. Bishop g5. He misses it. Bishop e3. Bishop g5 now. Misses it again. Knight d3. h5 starts pushing the pawn, but it feels way too slow. He trades on c1. h4. Knight f4. Bishop g5. Oh, rook c7. Rook c7. If you take rook takes f7, and you get the bishop back. Okay, you have to go bishop e7, but it's really passive. But it's the only move to hang on in the game. 3 seconds, you gotta blow. Rook c8. Ah, that's a very costly pawn to drop. Rook f5 maybe. Knight d3. Knight d7. You want to go knight e5. Bishop e3. Check. Okay, knight e5. Do not take this. There will be checkmate. Check. 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 Wait, that's game. That's game. Take. Knight takes here. Ah, h3. Wait, h3. How do you stop the pawn? Take h2. King up or here. Knight f4 or knight f2, bishop f4 and h2, take with the bishop and h2. How do you stop the pawn? A king d6 maybe, stopping bishop c6. And how do you stop it? There's no bishop d1. How do you stop the h2? And Darda saves the game. Wow. What a... There's no flag! What a game. Wow. What a game. Just when it seemed like this game was ending in a draw, Baza flags. And so Darda moves on to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. Wow, who would have expected that from this game? Darda was dead in the water, but that H-pawn created all the counterplay he needed. And Baza, with just a couple seconds on the clock, wasn't able to get a move off. And he lost on time. Very unfortunate. Because with one of these minor pieces off the board, or... yeah, I mean, black still has a bishop and a knight and a pawn, so it's nowhere close to a draw. With just a knight or just a bishop, it would have been a draw, but he flagged. So very, very unfortunate loss for Baza. So let's have a very quick look at the bracket, everyone. We see again that Ohanian at the top, he qualified through the winner's bracket very convincingly. He won his match against Baza in the winner's final with 3.5, 1.5. And Daniel Darda, after losing in the semifinals of the winner's bracket, we see that there on the top left-hand side to Baza, comes back and defeats Baza with the same score in the loser's final. So both Ohanian and Darda qualify to the Junior Speed Chess Championship. I'm sure both of them are gonna do great there. I mean, both definitely seem like they are very strong blitz players. And yeah, with all that being said, that was it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the coverage. Was a lot of fun covering this event for you guys. If you guys did so, feel free to check out my Twitch channel, GM Benjamin Bach. Also, hey, just wanted to let you guys know that my Chessable course is on sale for a little bit less than 24 hours. So you definitely want to check that out. But we are gonna wrap up, you guys. I hope all you guys enjoyed the coverage. We're gonna wrap up here, and we will see you guys for the Champions Chess Tour for day 1 of the Chess Kid Cup. That's gonna start Monday at 8 a.m. Pacific or 5 p.m. Central European time. We have some great hosts. We have Tanya Sachdev, David Howell, James Canty III, Daniel Nerditsky, and Simon Williams, all in Oslo, covering the event. But for now, you guys, we are gonna wrap up, and we will see you guys in the next one.